What? Strange went to chase and kill Caecilius. Chu Shu returned to the holy place in New York with Squirrel Girl and coincidentally met Wang, who had also come to New York to report to the Ancient One. From Wang's mouth, Chu Shu learned that Strange had been absent for the past few days. Like a mad dog, he was chasing after Caecilius, the traitor of Kamar Taj. Why didn't you tell me about this important matter earlier? Chu Shu's expression immediately changed upon hearing this news. Seeing this, the Ancient One also guessed something. You said you were going to use the mud truck, didn't you? Boss, there's been a slight change in the plan, it's normal. Listening to the conversation between Chu Shu and the Ancient One, Wang was a bit confused. How come he couldn't understand what these two people, one big and one small, were talking about? Weren't they talking about Strange? Why did they bring up the mud truck again? What Wang couldn't understand even more wasn't Strange just going to chase and kill a traitor? Was it necessary to make such a fuss? And now Dormammu has run away. Without the power of darkness, Caecilius is at best evenly matched with Strange. There's no need to worry so much about Strange's safety, right? I told you, you wouldn't understand. Chu Shu didn't explain further. He once again used a spell to locate Strange's position and teleported there using the power of the space gem. Leaving Squirrel Girl alone, staring blankly at the Ancient One and Wang. Hello to you both. Squirrel Girl awkwardly greeted the two. And then the atmosphere became even more awkward. On a cliff by the Norwegian coast, Strange finally caught up to Caecilius again and forced him to the edge of the cliff. Li, us, Strange emphasized each word. You told me to remember this name, and I did. Caecilius was on the verge of tears. When did I ever make you remember my name? I've never even seen you. As soon as Caecilius finished speaking, the anger in Strange's heart surged even stronger. Hey, you forgot. You forgot so quickly. So in your eyes, ordinary people don't even deserve to be remembered. Strange looked down at his trembling hands due to nerve damage. The anger in his heart grew even stronger. Stop with your lies, Caecilius. Strange's gaze gradually turned cold. The shield of Seraph appeared in his left hand, and the sword of Vishanti appeared in his right hand. After days of sleepless nights and devilish training, the time had finally come to test the results. Once I kill you, I will avenge my disabled hands. Then I can wholeheartedly follow Lord Satan. After Strange finished speaking, he prepared to launch an attack on Caecilius. Wait. What disability? Caecilius was about to say, your disabled hands have nothing to do with me. Suddenly, an unprecedented and terrifying swordlight falling from the sky. For a moment, anyone in the northern hemisphere who looked up could see this swordlight. That swordlight, pitch black like ink, with a determination to kill. Caecilius, had one last thought before dying. It was worth it. What kind of sin did I commit? To be attacked with such a level of attack. Boom. The swordlight descended. The entire Norway seemed to experience a magnitude 10 earthquake. The cliffs by the sea vanished in an instant. Wherever the swordlight passed, the seawater is divided into two. From the perspective of space, it seems like a scar has appeared on Earth. Ancient One. Have you gone mad, kid? Tiamu. What's going on up there? Why is it so noisy? Even a bald man on the moon turned his head to look. Damn. This young man. The observer frog only glanced at it before retracting his gaze. Because Chu Shu had already noticed his attention. The black death sword, across the distance between the Earth and the moon, pointed towards the observer frog. Look all you want. Some things shouldn't be said casually, understand? A world-shaking sword. Even Dr. Strange was dumbfounded. Satan. No, Lord Chu Shu, why are you here? Dr. Strange asked in surprise. Dealing with Caecilius, who had lost his dark power, he alone was enough. Unexpectedly, this small matter ended up alerting Lord Chu Shu. Cough. Well, wherever there are bad bastards, there I am. Especially those bad bastards who are in cahoots with extra-dimensional demons. I wish I could crush them to dust. The crush them to dust that Chu Shu mentioned was no joke. He had secretly contacted Gila. Letting Gila keep a close eye on all the hells. Once Caecilius's soul was discovered, it would be immediately eradicated. Lord Chu Shu, no matter what, I still have to thank you. If it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't even know which hospital I'd be lying in right now. Although he couldn't personally kill the murderer, Dr. Strange still expressed his gratitude to Chu Shu. With Caecilius dead, one obsession in his heart disappeared. Finally, the great revenge was avenged. Well, Dr. Strange, remember, the most important thing in life is to have an open mind. Don't hold onto petty grudges and grievances all day long. Be more open-minded, that's how you can live more freely. You see, I never hold grudges. Chushu's profound words left Strange momentarily stunned. You're right, it's all in the past. And, if it weren't for my hands being crippled, I would probably still be in the hospital holding a surgical knife, never setting foot on the path of magic. Strange chuckled self-deprecatingly. Sometimes, I feel like this might be the arrangement of fate. Chushu controlled his facial expression. Cough, you should go back to Kamar Taj first. I seem to have encountered a little trouble with this sword strike. Chushu looked at a small black dot appearing in the surging sea in the distance. He couldn't help but urge, do you need help? With my current strength, I should be able to assist you. Strange wanted to stay and help, but Chushu opened a portal directly and kicked him in. Then, Chushu gazed at the churning sea in the distance. He split the sea with a sword strike, dividing it into two halves. By the way, near Norway's seabed, he created an abyss similar to the Mariana Trench. At this moment, the seawater had already gathered back together. Simultaneously, a massive tsunami was unleashed. Fortunately, I managed to contain it. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been as simple as a tsunami. Indeed. Only when one's power reaches this level does Chushu understand why the Ancient One and Odin don't often intervene. Boom. Just as Chushu marveled, a figure suddenly emerged from the surging sea. Holding a trident in his hand. Oh my god, Yuan Hua. That's right. The person who appeared was Aquaman from the Marvel world, Namor. Although Aquaman doesn't have a strong presence in the movies. In the comics, this guy is the true Marvel superhero. To be precise, he is Marvel's first superhero, just like Superman in the neighboring DC universe. Namor is very angry, as the king of the underwater kingdom, Atlantis. Namor regards the ocean as his territory, just like how humans claim ownership of the land. Just now, Namor was leading his personal guard, roaming near the coast of Norway, patrolling his territory. Then, a black sword light struck down. The guards were gone. Even Namor himself narrowly escaped being killed by the sword. Luckily, he was standing at a relatively far distance at that time. Otherwise, he would probably become the most tragic superhero in Marvel history. Boom. With the idea of seeking justice for his fallen guards. Namor is filled with anger. He leaps out of the water. And then, he sees Chushu. In less than 0.1 seconds, he senses the aura of the Heavenly Father on Chushu. Namor decisively reacts. Hello, esteemed human warrior. My name is Namor, the King of Atlantis. The anger in Namor's eyes disappears. A smile appears on his face. As if he went through great effort to swim up from the sea just to have a chat with Chushu. Chushu is also left a little confused by Namor's slick move. Truly worthy of being a veteran hero. I don't know about anything else. But the speed of his brain's reaction is really fast. Just now, did I accidentally injure someone important to you? If so, I can compensate you. After all, he is now a big shot. Chushu decides to do something befitting of his own status. No need. Unexpectedly, Namor shakes his head decisively. We have a comprehensive compensation system in Atlantis, no need to worry. Namor is very clever, he just wants to establish a good relationship with Chushu now. That's right. Namor knows Chushu, because Atlantis is also connected to the internet. He knew that Chushu was the Lord of Hell in the Limbo prison, and he also knew a lot about Chushu's deeds. Speak up. Do you have something to ask of me? Chushu also noticed that Namuo seemed to know him. So he said directly, Mr. Chushu, I am familiar with your deeds. You were the demon hunter during the New York battle, and later defeated the demon king of Limbo prison and became the Lord of Hell. The demon lord sworn to by America, the savior of Satan and the gods. Namuo said seriously. Chushu noticed that he had gained another new title, the savior of the gods. Did news of his defeat of Jir spread so quickly? Alright, enough with the flattery, and you didn't even flatter me properly. Just get to the point. Chushu's face darkened. You flattered the horse's leg, and you dare to say you understand me? It's like this, Mr. Chushu, I am the king of Atlantis. For many years, we Atlanteans and humans have not violated each other. One side controls the land, the other controls the ocean, and the two do not interfere with each other. But later, humans reached into the ocean and began to extensively exploit underwater resources. At first, we tolerated it, but then they started drilling for oil, minerals, and natural gas. The pollution they caused became increasingly severe. In addition, they also dumped garbage and discharged nuclear waste into the sea. Our living space is becoming increasingly difficult. Namo became more and more excited as he spoke, and more aggrieved. From ocean garbage to atmospheric currents, and then to global warming. Namo's face. Because of his excitement, it became more and more ferocious. Chushu felt like he was about to say, "How dare you, humans? Stop, stop, stop. I'm not an environmentalist. In that pile of things you just said, I thought about the nuclear waste. You can take your army of mermaids and go demand justice in person, I won't stop you." Chushu got a headache as soon as he heard the word, environmental. The energy-saving and emission-reducing efforts of ordinary people throughout their lives. The result is still not as good as the pollution caused by a wealthy person's private jet taking off once. Fu is someone who hasn't enjoyed anything. The blame is something that hasn't been shouldered less. By the way, I'm also a billionaire, but I don't even have a car. Chushu remembered that as a billionaire, he seemed to have never enjoyed a life of extravagance. At most, it was just spending time with Wanda, Sky, Black Cat, Gila, Gwen. Living a rather simple life. You have misunderstood my intention, Lord Chushu. I actually have an idea that I would like to discuss with you. After a moment of hesitation, organizing his words, Namo continued, "You see, you are the lord of the Thin Spirit Prison, and there are rumors that you are also the lord of several other hells, but I'm not sure if it's true." "It is true," Chushu nodded. "That's even better." Namo's eyes lit up, becoming more serious. "You see, I believe that whether it's ocean pollution or environmental destruction on Earth, the fundamental reason is the same problem, lack of living space. If the living space on Earth could be doubled, then all the problems I just mentioned would cease to exist." Hearing this, Chushu roughly guessed Namo's idea. "So, you want humans, or perhaps the people of Atlantis, to live in hell?" Chushu found it amusing. In the hell with magma pools that easily reach 1,000 degrees and an average temperature of 60 degrees Celsius. Aren't you afraid of being roasted into dried fish? Not for permanent settlement. My suggestion is to open a fixed passage and establish a bilateral trade agreement. Namo looked serious and then voiced his idea. For example, non-biodegradable waste from Earth could be sent to hell for incineration. After all, demons are not afraid of air pollution. And as compensation, demons can engage in judicial work on Earth, judging a person's guilt through their soul. Judicial efficiency would greatly improve, and the death penalty could be replaced by demons collecting souls, killing two birds with one stone. Another example. Isn't human oil extraction for energy? There is so much lava in hell. Geothermal resources are abundant. Namo is willing to offer Atlantis' most advanced geothermal power generator technology. In hell, construct several large thermal power plants and transmit the energy to Earth through fixed cables. This would directly solve the energy problem. In this way, humans would solve the energy and pollution problems. And they would no longer focus on the ocean. And your hell would constantly harvest souls. And from what I know, the stronger the demons, the greater the help from the Lord of Hell. Namo's face was filled with excitement, clearly having thought of this plan long ago. Chushu listened silently. He looked at Namor as if he were a fool. "Namor, I know you have good ideas, but don't think about it for now. First, think about this for me. Who should I entrust such a big project to? I can't do it myself, can I?" Chushu couldn't be bothered with these matters. Although he was nominally one of the demons in hell, in reality, he wasn't interested in the life or death of any demon other than the succubus. He was just a lazy boss. He wanted the benefits, but he didn't want to do any work. "Alright, I'm not interested in what you're saying. If you have the ability, go find Gila for help." Chushu waved his hand. Alright." The excitement in Namor's eyes disappeared. He nodded in disappointment, turned around with his harpoon, and prepared to return to the sea. "Wait." Suddenly, Chushu stopped Namor. "I have a question for you. Do you know about the ocean dimension?" Chushu asked. I know." Namor thought seriously for half a second and nodded vigorously. "But I don't remember." Chushu almost choked on Namor's sudden change. "You don't remember? You said you knew? Don't worry, I'll have someone search the library of Atlantis for relevant information." Although Namor's ideas were a bit far-fetched. But this kid's attitude was still acceptable. Having gained Chushu's approval, you have a little more leeway. "Alright, if the information is satisfactory, I can let you talk to the person in charge of the spirit prison." "That's great." Namor clapped his hands excitedly. Then he quietly approached and took out a holographic photo. "Mr. Chushu, this is an image of my cousin, Namora." Namor is very knowledgeable. He found information about the ocean dimensions in a very short time. As the kingdom of the ocean, Atlantis recorded many dimensions related to the ocean, including Mephisto and dimensional dimensions. These are all fine. The only problem lies with Namor's cousin, Namora. Unlike Namor, who is half human and half Atlantean, Namora is a purebred Atlantean, and this means, once she comes ashore, her skin will turn blue. Avatar, huh? In the moment Chu Shu saw Namora, he couldn't help but admire Namor's father. Wow, he wanted an avatar, right? Forget it. Chu Shu picked up the information Namor found. And Namor stood by explaining. We have consulted all the records related to the ocean dimensions. The most recent record was over 1,000 years ago, when an Atlantean named Has accidentally summoned Mephisto, the evil power of the ocean dimension. Later, my ancestors, together with the ancestors of Wakanda, defeated. Stop. Get to the point. Chu Shu was not interested in these legendary stories at all. He just wanted to know about the dimension Mephisto. According to the records in the ancient books, Mephisto, the ocean dimension, is known as the Mind Devourer, the Octopus, the Lord of the Ocean, the One-Eyed, the Vortex Monster. Anka Bussos. Slap. When Namor finished his last sentence, Chu Shu finally couldn't bear it anymore and slapped him on the back of his head. Next time, just say the name. Why talk about all these random nicknames? Chu Shu said impatiently. But the information obtained from Namor was enough to prove that Quagmire was not lying. It really is not the Lord of the Ocean dimension. Okay. As long as he didn't lie. I didn't expect Quaguzi to be quite honest. Well, Namo, I'm a man of my word. You go to hell and find a demon named Nastier to discuss your plan. With a thought, Chu Shu opened a portal to the Lingbo prison. As Gila took control of the Eternal Hell, Succubus Hell, Flame Hell, one by one. Most of the troops were withdrawn. There is only one Nastier left in the Lingbo prison. As the first client summoned by Chu Shu, Nastier has now turned the tables. Thank you. Thank you. Looking at the portal to hell in front of him, Namo's eyes lit up. Don't be fooled by his plan, seemingly benefiting both humans and demons. On the surface, it seems that the people of Atlantis can't gain any benefits. But in reality, they are the biggest beneficiaries. On a smaller scale, it is about restoring the marine environment and increasing the living space for the people of Atlantis. On a larger scale, when humans shift their attention from the ocean to hell, Atlantis can easily control the four oceans and become the true ruler of the seas. Compared to these huge amounts of benefits, they only pay a trivial amount of thermal energy generation technology. And in between the two forces of humans and demons, they just play the role of a mediator, a bridge, nothing more. Making a fortune. Namo's mouth almost split to his molars. To show my gratitude, I will order the most beautiful women of Atlantis to be brought to you as a gift, Your Excellency. No need. I'm not very interested. Chu Shu looked at the excited Namo and muttered to himself. And besides, I just asked you to meet Nastier. I didn't say the plan would definitely succeed. Having spent so much time with demons, Chu Shu has also become accustomed to playing these word games commonly used by demons. That's right. Blame the demons. They have corrupted the inherently pure-hearted me. Saying goodbye to Namo, Chu Shu teleported back to the familiar Makalu Peak. When he was persuading Gale, his business ability became a bit rusty. After all, it had been some time since he last worked. It was time to return to his old profession. As usual, first visit the old clients, then expand into new business. Chu Shu said, visit the old clients. With a flick of his wrist, the liquid-like all-black death sword flowed down his arm and into his palm, transforming into a pitch-black blade, in an instant. Chu Shu's aura soared, although he had not yet reached the level single universe, but dealing with a sealed Quaggas should not be a problem. As soon as Chu Shu finished speaking, the three words, Quaggas, immediately activated the heavenly edict of mouth. Boom. The familiar bronze gate appeared once again. But this time, the illusion of the countless terrifying tentacles around it failed. Chu Shu didn't even need to take out the warlock's eye this time. Just a few tentacles, he was used to it. Chu Shu put away the all-black death sword, passed through the illusory bronze gate. The immense pressure of the sea once again crushed Chu Shu from all directions. Chu Shu skillfully cast a magic shield and headed straight towards Talus. Boom boom boom, before Chu Shu could get close, the dimensional ocean began to violently shake. Quaggas sensed Chu Shu, and its mountain-like tentacles lifted one by one, struggling to support its restrained body. Caecilius, you have finally returned. Quaggas's dozen or so large eyes opened simultaneously, shining with innocent eyes inside. Finally. This human has finally returned. He didn't deceive me. Kwaguzi looked at Chu Shu excitedly, as if saying, "Hurry up and help me lift the seal." But after waiting for a while, Kwaguzi gradually lost the excitement in his eyes when he saw that Chu Shu was still standing in place without any action. "Human, weren't you supposed to help me collect those cards? Did you find them? Hurry up and lift the seal for me, hurry," Kwaguzi urged. Chu Shu remained silent for a moment. Then suddenly, he said, "Kwaguzi, the ability you gave me is not useful." Kwaguzi's dozen or so big eyes showed confusion at the same time. "What does that mean? My ability is even feared by the one who created me. Real damage. Ignore defense. How can it not be useful? Your annihilation ray can't even hit anyone. Enemies can easily dodge it with a little speed. And your summoning tentacles ability can only deal with cannon fodder, it's useless against powerful characters." Chu Shu criticized Kwaguzi's ability as useless. But this was not intentional on Chu Shu's part. Because when Chu Shu fought against Gel, it was indeed difficult to hit the annihilation ray, and the thousands of tentacles summoned didn't have much effect. Ah. 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 Hearing Chu Shu's disdain for his ability, Kwaguzi instantly became furious. "Who told you that? My annihilation ray can only be emitted through the eyes. And who told you that? You can only summon those trash tentacles that are worse than weeds. I don't know how to use it myself. Don't blame my ability." Quarkus was extremely angry. "You can say that I didn't give you enough energy. But you can't say that my ability is not good. Now I'll show you. See what a real annihilation ray is." Quarkus roared in anger, ignoring the restraint of the dozen or so huge chains. It struggled, and the dozen or so mountain-sized tentacles moved at the same time. The tips of those tentacles gradually emitted an incredibly dazzling purple light. At the same time, Quarkus's dozen or so eyeballs also emitted a purple light. "Give it to me. Annihilate. Buzz. Buzz buzz buzz." In an instant, the dozen or so eyeballs plus the dozen or so tentacles erupted simultaneously. A total of dozens of columns of annihilation light indiscriminately swept through the ocean dimension. Front, back, left, right, up, down, as far as the eye could see. The ocean was filled with crisscrossing purple light columns. The scene was incredibly shocking. Chu Shu's face was alternately bright and darkened by the purple light of the annihilation ray. It was like suddenly barging into a very lively bar. And Quarkus was the most dazzling DJ on the stage. "Ha ha ha. This is me. This is Quarkus. This is the master of annihilation energy." Quarkus laughed loudly in the ocean dimension, as if regaining its former glory. However, just a few laughs later, the dozen or so huge chains that bound it seemed to sense its abnormal movements. The inscriptions above lit up one by one. "Ah." Caecilius let out a miserable scream. Instantly, he collapsed to the ground. The scene of dozens of annihilating rays, wildly sweeping, also disappeared. Indeed, Caecilius had regained his former glory. But it only lasted for a few seconds. "Do you understand now, Caecilius? It's not that my ability is inadequate. The power I gave you is already strong enough." So, Caecilius slowly moved his body. More than 10 eyeballs locked onto Chu Shu. "I don't want to hear any bad news from you, do you understand?" Caecilius was sincere in his words, but it was, after all, a lord of a dimensional realm. During its peak, it was the Mephisto of level single universe. Deceiving it or disappointing it would only bring about its furious wrath. Fortunately, Chu Shu knew very well how to communicate with such an existence. "Your ability may be useful, but the energy you gave me is not enough. Like you, blindly shooting dozens of lasers. It may not matter to you, but for me, I can't bear such consumption." After Chu Shu finished speaking, he saw a purple light flickering in Caecilius's eyes. Followed by another sentence. "If you give me a little more energy. This time, I won't just have a card." Swish. Chu Shu took out a blank playing card. "That's right. Just to be safe." Before tearing off the face, Chu Shu decided to deceive, no, trade for a bit more of Caecilius's power. As one gains, the other loses. When the time comes to turn against each other, he would have a bit more assurance. "Are you telling the truth? It's because the energy I gave you was not enough, so you only ended up with a card?" When Chu Shu took out the playing card, Caecilius's attention was immediately drawn to it. It had been sealed for thousands of years, and its longing for freedom had long made it ignore everything. "Indeed, if only I had enough energy, this time I could at least summon 3 poker cards, no, 3 exorcism cards." After Chu Shu finished speaking, he took out a pen. Just like last time, he drew the most basic unsealing ritual on the poker cards. After activation, a white light flashed. About 1/10 of the inscriptions on the chains binding Quaggas were released. Ha ha ha. Quaggas burst into laughter. This Qua leader was not afraid of slow progress in the project. It was afraid of investing a lot and not seeing any return in the end. After all, it had been sealed for thousands of years. Waiting a few more days was acceptable. You did well, Caecilius. Haha. Once I am unsealed and return to the dimension of tentacles, I will appoint you as my Mephisto envoy, granting you supreme authority. Quaggas thought that everything was under its control. It even started to paint a rosy picture for Chushu. Alright. Chushu's mouth curled up. Why did this sound more and more like, I am Emperor Qin Shi Huang. I give you 50 V, and in return, I will appoint you as the Grand General of the state. Quaggas clearly had no idea what Chushu was thinking. Seeing this human in front of it, so honest, so trustworthy. It couldn't help but feel relieved. You're right, Caecilius. I will give you more energy so that you can help me find more exorcism cards. Only then can I gain my freedom faster. In Quaggas's dozen or so large eyes, there was a glimmer of innocence. That's right. This principle was correct. Even the dimension Mephisto from another dimension knew a simple truth. If you want the horse to run, you must first feed it grass. Done. I will give you more annihilation energy. Quaggas spoke as if a large amount of purple energy converged towards Chushu. Quaggas, aren't you the lord of the tentacle dimension? Why is your energy called annihilation energy instead of tentacle energy? While happily absorbing Quaggas' power, Chushu curiously asked. Because tentacle energy doesn't sound good. Quaggas answered seriously. Chushu had no words to respond. Very well. This answer was flawless. This time, the process of energy transmission lasted a long time. Chushu was also unsure how much energy Quaggas had transmitted in one breath. In the end, this guy's aura has decreased by at least 20 to 30%. To be honest, if it weren't for Gel's cautionary tale, Chushu would have hesitated to betray Quaggas. Honestly, this guy is really sincere. The energy transmitted twice was the purest original energy, without any flaws that even the system couldn't detect. But there's no other way. Who made Chushu's purpose for this trip to improve his business level? Lil Kwag, remember in your next life, being Mephisto, the most important thing is to be cautious. Just as Chushu was about to draw the all-black death sword to give Quaggas a righteous betrayal, boom. The entire ocean dimension suddenly trembled. The infinite depth and breadth of the seawater, which extended upwards and in all directions, suddenly shook. As if there was a colossal creature moving. We're in trouble. Anka Bussos is back. Caecilius, you better run. It's really. I'm crying. Watching Quaggas still considering himself in the last second. Chushu finally couldn't hold back. Brother. You're a dimension Mephisto. Can't you recognize your own position? You're not a protagonist. Hey. Why are you still standing there? Hurry up and leave, Caecilius. Only you can help me lift the seal. Hurry up. I will erase any traces of your visit. Feeling Anka Busso's presence getting closer and closer, Quaggas became anxious. A massive tentacle, like a mountain range, moved and tried to push Chushu back towards the bronze gate. But it was too late. Boom. A colossal figure descended with a thud. The seawater seemed to offer no resistance to it and was easily pushed aside. I wondered why I kept sensing the seal shaking. So, someone wants to escape from prison. Anka Busso's figure suddenly appeared like a great mountain. Chushu looked up. Just one glance, and he felt as if his mind had been struck by a heavy hammer. And then, nothing happened. Ordinary people would go insane just by looking at Anka Bussos. Because this ocean-dwelling Mephisto can easily devour people's consciousness and thoughts. It feeds on them. But Chushu has a pure soul. Not only did he look, but he also kept looking up, as if challenging it. Unlike Quaggas, who had a typical octopus plus Patrick Star physique. Anka Busso's figure, on the other hand, resembled a dinosaur? A slar? Anyway, it had 2 legs, 2 arms, and a tail. These were all ordinary. What was truly strange was its head. On top of its limbs was a squid-like head. Its neck was covered in tentacles, hanging like hair. Apart from that, Anka Bussos also had a special feature, which was that it only had one eye. Like a one-eyed giant from mythological stories. It had a huge single eye, occupying 3/4 of its face. You scared me. When I saw the octopus head, I thought it was Caecilius. You are much uglier than Kaizong. Chushu breathed a sigh of relief. For a moment, he was prepared to sugarcoat it. Kuagazi, didn't expect you, the traitor, to dare to escape? And even colluded with a human? Anka Busso's huge single eye fell on Chushu. Because of the significant difference in their sizes, it took Anka Busso's a while to see clearly that this little thing was a human. "Hi, how are you?" Chushu politely greeted. What should he do in this awkward situation? His intended new client and his old client met. Originally, after dealing with Kuwageze, Chushu planned to summon the Lord of the Ocean Latitude, Anka Bussos. B. Plans can't keep up with changes. HMPH. Anka Bussos glanced at Chushu. With disdain, he withdrew his gaze. A human? Have you really fallen to this point, Kuwageze? Do you really think a human can lift the seal of our great master? Anka Bussos said. His huge foot stomped heavily on one of Kuwageze's tentacles. Both of them were colossal creatures, and Chushu was insignificant in front of them. He is your master. I am no longer his servant. Kuwageze struggled angrily. But under the constraints of those huge chains, it couldn't fully utilize its abilities. It could only let Anka Bussos step on it again and again. But Kuwageze didn't mind. Instead, it endured the intense pain and sneered. And also, who told you that a human cannot lift the seal? Take a good look with your filthy single eye. Look at the changes in the inscriptions on these chains. What great master! A human can break his seal. Ha ha ha. In Caecilius's laughter, there was mockery and pride, as if the unsealing was its own accomplishment. What? At this moment, Anka Bussos finally noticed the fading inscriptions on those chains. Instantly, he was shocked. Then, the gaze of the huge one-eyed creature fell on Chushu again. Human. You foolish insect. Do you know whose seal you are breaking? Let me tell you. You are breaking the seal of the great being born from the chaos of the universe. The multiverse. The ancient ruler. The controller of the primal chaos energy in a million dimensions, all-powerful. With just a single will, it can destroy an entire galaxy. Great. I-Demon. The seal of Shuma Gorath. Anka Bussos listed the titles of his great master one by one. But Chushu rolled his eyes. No, your master can't hear you again. Who are you shouting so loudly for? Having said that, Chushu used telepathy magic to contact Caecilius. Caecilius, I helped you break the seal. How about we deal with this idiot together? But you don't have any exorcism cards left. Caecilius replied. In fact, it didn't have much hope anymore. Once Anka Bussos reported the news of its escape to the I-Demon, all previous efforts would be in vain. It doesn't matter if I don't have any cards. I can burn my soul. Sacrifice half of my lifespan. Offer my last chakra. Use my final ripple. Just to completely unseal you. Chushu's tone was very serious. Caecilius didn't understand what chakra or ripple meant. But it knew how important the soul and lifespan were to a human. This human. He really moved me to tears. Caecilius, originally I was planning to kill you first after unsealing you. But now, you have gained my true friendship. Caecilius really spoke from the heart. Chushu fell silent. I knew Mephisto was too kind-hearted. Well, it turns out she was planning to turn on us as soon as the seal was lifted. Fortunately, I am more skilled. Prepare to turn on her in advance. Alright. None of us are good people. So stop pretending to be innocent and pure. Chushu is acting to the end. Instead of taking out a card, he directly drew a seal-breaking ritual on his palm with a pen. Attention. It's a seal-breaking ritual. It's the exclusive ritual for lifting the seal. Chushu wouldn't be foolish enough to use an exorcism ritual to send Caecilius back to the tentacle dimension. Then he would deal with Anka Bussos alone. Caecilius, you keep going. I'll hold him off for you. However, just as Chushu was halfway through drawing, Caecilius suddenly shouted and launched an attack on Anka Bussos first. Are you F***king stupid? I didn't notice you before. Chushu was dumbfounded. Caecilius's shout immediately caught Anka Bussos's attention. Anka Bussos didn't know what this human was doing. But seeing Caecilius so anxious, he knew it must be something important. I don't care what you're doing, just die for me. With a roar, Anka Bussos raised his mountain-like giant foot and stomped down towards Chushu. At the critical moment, Caecilius moved one of his tentacles over, trying to block this attack for Chushu. Chushu had just thought that this guy might have some ulterior motives. But now, damn it, he's just plain stupid, idiot. Boom. The dimension of the ocean trembles. Anka Bussos steps on one of Quag's tentacles. The mountain-like tentacle is stomped into a U-shape and crashes heavily onto the seabed. Countless sand and soil are thrown up high, mixing with the seawater, causing the area within sight to become turbid and muddy. Quag, do you think you can protect this human? While Anka Bussos lifts his foot, With a wave of his hand, the surrounding seawater seems to obey its command and flows rapidly in one direction. The murky seabed quickly becomes clear. Now, right in front of you. Anka Busos's huge single eye looks once again towards Chushu's location. However, there is no one there anymore. Chushu is not stupid. Although Quag is helping to resist, he decisively teleports away from this area before Anka Busos's attack arrives. Unfortunately, I don't have the ability of the heavenly phenomenon and earthly vision. Otherwise, I could directly transform into a giant and perform a hand-tearing octopus act. Chushu teleports above Quag's main body, but because he is too small in size, it is difficult to notice Chushu's presence without careful observation. There's no way around it. Both Quag and Anka Busos are colossal creatures that easily reach thousands of meters. Quag is even more outrageous. If we include the length of its tentacles, it is estimated to be nearly 10,000 meters. Even Godzilla would respectfully offer it a cigarette when facing it. Call me Little Le, you are the king of monsters. Only Chushu, with a normal human body size, is truly inconspicuous in front of them. But fortunately, combat power, this thing. It is not entirely determined by body size to decide who wins or loses. Facing Anka Busos's gaze coming after him again, Chushu doesn't even draw out his all-black death sword. Instead, he calmly raises one hand, only to see a pattern drawn with a marker in the palm of his hand. That's right, a marker. In high-end rituals, often only the simplest materials are needed. Get ready. Quag, this is my last ripple. Chushu had just finished speaking. Familiar white light burst forth from his palm. The white light was not dazzling or glaring, but gentle and calm. However, wherever it passed, the inscriptions on the huge chains melted away like snow, dissipating one after another. Boom boom boom, huge amounts of sound came from all around. The massive chains that bound Quaggas began to fall off one by one. Each one that fell caused the seabed to tremble, stirring up large amounts of sand and mud. Stop. Human. How dare you? Engabusos saw the situation. A burst of white light erupted from his single eye. Caecilius. Quick, get out of the way. Quaggas issued a warning. Unlike the physical form of damage caused by the annihilation ray, Engabusos' attack targeted the human mind and soul. How coincidental, isn't it? Chushu did not perceive the slightest threat in that ray. And the fact also proved that his intuition was correct. The white ray swept past. Chushu was completely unharmed, not even a single hair on his body was damaged. Definitely. Even if Chushu's intuition was wrong, it didn't matter. With the eye of Agamotto, he could be so arrogant. What? How is this possible? Engabusos' voice was filled with disbelief. If Quaggas' ultimate move was the annihilation ray that could ignore defense, then Engabusos' signature skill was its direct attack on the soul and mind. This move was equally difficult to defend against. It was with this move that Engabusos gained the reputation of being a mind devourer. But there was nothing he could do. Just as Chushu said, how coincidental, isn't it? Human. I don't care what dirty tricks you used, you have destroyed the seal of my great master. Now, you have committed a heinous crime, seeing his own mastery fail. Engabusos became furious. With a wave of his hand, the entire dimension of the ocean turned into his weapon. In the vast ocean, several enormous whirlpools instantly formed, resembling drills. Never underestimate the power of water, especially when billions of tons of seawater are spinning at high speed. The tearing force it generates is enough to tear apart a mountain in an instant. Die for me, under Engabusos' control. These terrifying underwater whirlpools moved simultaneously. They besieged Chushu, however, before Chushu could react. Gigantic tentacles, as massive as mountains, stirred in the ocean. Boom. Those enormous underwater whirlpools, capable of tearing apart mountains, were interrupted by these equally massive tentacles. Relying on sheer brute force, they broke the potential of the whirlpools. I have been sealed here for thousands of years. For these thousands of years, I have endured countless humiliations from you. And now, I have regained my freedom. As the chains fell off one by one, Quag's colossal body sprung up from the seabed. Including its buried parts in the sea and in the sand, they were also revealed. Colossal. Yet coordinated. If there is anyone among the servants of the Eye Demon who resembles the Eye Demon the most, Quag is undoubtedly deserving of that title, as the creation of the Eye Demon. Quag inherited the most powerful body and the most insoluble skills from the Eye Demon. Ha ha ha. Tremble. I see fear in your eyes. Even if I have been sealed for thousands of years. Even if my strength is barely existent, you will still fear me. Ga. Bu. Suo. See. Come on. Quags used 2 tentacles as support and stood up, while Quag's other tentacles were waving menacingly. The tips emitted a purple glow, aiming at Ngabasuo. Good, really impressive. At this moment, Chushu wished he had brought a small stool. This is much better than watching movies like Godzilla vs. King Kong. The only downside is that his viewing position is a bit inappropriate. Boom. In an instant, 2-dimensional Mephistos burst into battle. Dozens of annihilation beams randomly swept through the ocean. With the cooperation of the 2 colossal beasts, there was a tremendous impact. This time, it wasn't just the seawater that was shaking. The entire dimensional space of the ocean was trembling. For a moment, Chushu felt like he was trapped in a closed fish tank, and then 2 giants were wildly stirring it with sticks. Everything was spinning, but in reality, Chushu did have the ability to join this battle. To be precise, before entering the ocean dimension, Chushu, holding the all-black death sword, already had the ability to compete with these dimensional Mephistos. Now, after gaining 20 to 30% of Quag's ability, he felt even less pressure. But Chushu still chose to watch from the sidelines. Little Quag, it's not that I don't want to help you. It's mainly because your previous words of unseal and then attack really hurt my feelings. Chushu decided to let these 2-dimensional Mephistos fight each other, reaping the benefits. Fate seemed to be playing a little joke on Chushu. Caecilius boasts loudly, but in actual combat, after just a few moves, he falls into a disadvantageous position. Just as Caecilius himself said, after being sealed for many years, his strength is practically non-existent. Furthermore, just now he transferred 1/3 of his energy to Chushu, further widening the gap between him and Ngabassos. You sounded so impressive just now, I thought you were really powerful. So it turns out you're nothing special. Ngabassos directly attacks under the onslaught of dozens of annihilation rays. The actual damage is indeed terrifying. Every purple annihilation ray that sweeps past causes large patches of flesh and blood on Ngabassos to disappear. But the next second, these injuries quickly heal. As the Lord of the Ocean Dimension, Ngabassos fighting on home turf is equivalent to having endless energy and supplies. In simple terms, you can think of it as fighting with it while standing on a spring. Since real damage cannot be defended against, Ngabassos simply doesn't block. It just takes the damage head on, exchanging injuries with Caecilius. With this mindset of exchanging injuries, Caecilius quickly falls into a disadvantageous position. Caecilius, come over here quickly, help me restrain it. Hearing Caecilius's plea for help, Chushu couldn't hold back. Just now, during the tough talk phase before the fight, you sounded quite convincing. Why did you reveal your true colors as soon as the fight started? Just at the moment when Caecilius asked Chushu for help, Ngabassos' one eye once again burst out with a white light that directly attacks the soul. As a dimension Mephisto, Caecilius doesn't seem to have a holy soul. Facing Ngabassos' spiritual attack, it has no means of defense. The white light sweeps past. Caecilius's consciousness is like being severely injured. Stunned for that moment. Although it was only a moment, it was already enough to be fatal in the battle between dimension Mephistos. So you're nothing special either, Caecilius. Ngabassos seizes the opportunity. Directly grab one of Quag's tentacles and tear it off alive. In the dimension of the ocean, Ngabassos not only has an extremely fast recovery speed, its power has also reached an unimaginable level. In a sense, it is like the embodiment of this vast ocean dimension. As long as the sea churns endlessly, its power is boundless. How long has it been since you returned to the tentacle dimension, Quag? How much energy do you have left in you? Let me guess, 1/10, or 1/5. Ngabassos waved its hand, creating several underwater whirlpools larger than before. As a famous whirlpool monster, this move can be considered Ngabassos' specialty. These underwater whirlpools, with a diameter of thousands of kilometers, move according to Ngabassos' will, as if they were an extension of its body, under its command. Quag just recovered from the mental shock and found that one of its tentacles had been severed. But before it could feel the pain, Quag's other tentacles were each pulled into a series of huge underwater whirlpools. Huge tearing force, like being torn apart by 5 horses. Stretching Quag's octopus-like body straight. Each tentacle was pulled outward by the tearing force of the whirlpool. And all of this happened in an instant. Quag just accidentally glanced at Ngabassos' single eye. Its consciousness was instantly shocked. And then, Ngabassos' combo completely sealed Quag's defeat. When I kill you and report this to the Great Eye Demon, I will receive the Great Blessing. Ngabassos manipulated the underwater whirlpools and increased their rotation speed. However, just when it thought it had the victory in its hands, Booza AA. A black sword light suddenly appeared. By the time Engabusos noticed the attack, it was already too late. The gigantic sea monster, spanning thousands of kilometers in size, was struck by a sword. Its massive body stumbled. A colossal wound appeared on its body, resembling an abyss. However, in the next second, Engabuso's wound quickly healed, disappearing at a visible speed. As its regenerative ability this strong, Chu Shu held the completely black death sword. With an evil aura that was completely different from Engabuso's and Quag's, it stood in opposition to both. The thick evil aura made even Engabuso's doubt. Among the three of us, who is the true dimension Mephisto? Caecilius, you. Because of Chu Shu's sword. Quag's had a chance to escape. Using the annihilation ray, it directly evaporated the swirling seawater, freeing itself from danger. But right after, Quag's froze, because it sensed that Caecilius, who it had always thought was weak and insignificant, actually possessed strength that was not inferior to its own. No, not just not inferior, but even surpassed its own power. That's not right. Quag's head was a bit slow to catch up. Didn't this human just say that his energy was insufficient and couldn't handle so many exorcism cards? How did he become stronger than me in the blink of an eye? Him? Me? Quag's stared with its dozen large eyes. Ignoring the pain of a severed tentacle, its eyes were filled with confusion and disbelief. Big brother, wait, something's not right. Why do I feel like I've been deceived? I thought you guys would have to fight a bit longer to determine the winner. But the result is truly disappointing. Chu Shu held the completely black death sword. His figure was shrouded in a sinister darkness. With the addition of the 30% annihilation energy generously given by Quag's, coupled with the power of the completely black death sword, Chu Shu finally touched the threshold of a singular universe. Although it was achieved through the assistance of external objects. Who isn't? Supervillain Thanos, without the support of the infinite gems and other powerful artifacts, wouldn't stand a chance against even Odin. Using cheats is not embarrassing, no wonder. So it gave you the power. After a brief shock, Engabusosu noticed the annihilation energy on Chu Shu. He immediately breathed a sigh of relief. Even Quagsire can't defeat me. You alone, class, even with annihilation energy and these strange little gadgets. What can you do? Engabusosu said, launching an attack towards Chu Shu. It controlled the vast sea around it, creating several large whirlpools. The diameter of these whirlpools reached several kilometers, stirring up billions of tons of seawater. Using the same move again? Chu Shu looked at Engabusosu with disdain. Can't you come up with something more innovative besides controlling the seawater? Engabusosu was somewhat speechless. Do you think I don't want to use other moves? The problem is, do my other moves work on you? Chu Shu teleported, easily avoiding the whirlpools created by Engabusosu. With the space gem, unless Engabusosu turns the entire ocean dimension into an infinitely large super whirlpool, it is almost impossible for Chu Shu to be caught in these whirlpools. After creating distance with teleportation, Chu Shu had a thought. Purple annihilation energy spewed out from his body, forming several massive tentacles around him. That's right. Just as Quagsire said. Who told you that you can only summon those trash tentacles that are worse than weeds? The tentacles that Chu Shu summoned now. Each one was as massive as Quagsire's original tentacles. Several kilometers long, nearly 100 meters wide. Like mountains, rising from the seabed. Then, the tips of these giant tentacles began to emit a purple light. Little Quag, your ability is really useful. Your ability is really useful. Hearing Chu Shu's slightly teasing words, Quagza, who realized a bit late that he might have been tricked. But for now, the most urgent task is to defeat Engabusos. Helpless, Quagza can only bury all his grievances in his heart. And then, it also has to cooperate with Chu Shu, from the other side, unleashing dozens of annihilation rays. So, the classic left-right wave, no, it's left-right with more than a dozen annihilation rays each, simultaneously attacking the middle Engabusos. Trying to run? Seeing Engabusos trying to escape, Chu Shu directly summoned two huge amounts of tentacles under its feet, coiling up along Engabusos' legs, binding it in place. In fact, Quagza was also planning to use this move. But Chu Shu took the lead. Quagza felt even more uncomfortable now. Not only was his power stolen, but the other party also did it better than him. Get lost. Get lost. Engabusos struggled frantically. The entire ocean dimension kept shaking due to its violent movements. Soon, the two huge tentacles entwined around it also showed signs of tearing. But the effect had already been achieved. Buzz. Buzz buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. Dozens of annihilation rays from both directions. Like the two armies in Star Wars, they all bombarded Ingabusos. Flesh and blood annihilated. True damage that ignores defense. Gradually hollowing out Ingabusos' massive body bit by bit. Just like a group of naughty kids using a hot pea to melt the snowman you just built. Ingabusos could only raise its arm, trying to protect its head. But the next second, its arm quickly disintegrated. Facing Chushu and Quags's encirclement from both sides, Ingabusos' proud recovery speed couldn't keep up with the annihilation ray's disintegration speed. As long as the rays hold on for a few more seconds, Mephisto, who dominates the ocean dimension, will be defeated on the spot. Just when the situation was looking great, Caecilius suddenly faltered on his side. The Lord of the Tentacle Dimension, the controller of the annihilation rays, is out of mana. The dozens of annihilation rays on the left instantly went silent. Only Chushu remained outputting. Chushu was full of question marks. Seeing this, Ingabusos seized the opportunity. It quickly took the chance to break free from the two tentacles entwined around its body, then without looking back, it fled. Definitely, it didn't really want to escape. It wanted to buy time for its self-healing recovery. In the ocean dimension, Ingabusos' already broken body was rapidly healing at a visible speed. Can't you hold on a little longer, you liar? If you hadn't tricked away my power, how could I not hold on? Who tricked you? If it weren't for me, you would still be tied up by a dog leash. I curse you in the name of tentacles, you idiotic Patrick Star. Finally, Chushu and Caecilius exchanged some foul language. Then they both chased after Ingabusos, who was fleeing at the same time. Fortunately, Ingabusos' injuries were severe enough, its body was in tatters. Even though it controlled the ocean dimension, using seawater to propel its body forward, it couldn't escape from Chushu and Caecilius' pursuit. Your swimming posture is so damn ugly, like a giant octopus. Chushu, from a distance, repeatedly slashed Ingabusos with the all-black death sword. At the same time, he didn't forget to mock Caecilius. Indeed, as a Patrick Star, or something like a giant octopus. Caecilius' swimming posture was indeed not very pleasing to the eye. Caecilius wanted to retort, but when he saw Chushu teleportation throughout the whole process, he even had a waterproof magic shield on him, not even his hair was wet. Because of the injury in the broken tentacle, his swimming posture was indeed a bit awkward. Caecilius, after I deal with Ingabusos, you're next to be killed. Caecilius couldn't find a reason to refute and couldn't out-insult Chushu. Frustration overwhelmed him. Are you getting impatient? And you see this pile of playing cards here, won't it make you furious? While Chushu attacked Ingabuso, he took out a bunch of blank playing cards from his belt. Then, like scattering flowers, he casually threw them on the ground. Why are you throwing them away? They're so precious. For a moment, Quags couldn't wrap his head around it. His first reaction was heartache. How could such precious things be thrown on the ground like this? But then, the next second, he realized. A roar filled with anger, unwillingness, regret, and grievance burst out. Appearing in the dimension of the ocean. You little brat, playing tricks on me. Chushu sneered. Actually, Quags didn't run out of mana just now. He deliberately stopped attacking. Just like how Chushu initially wanted both Quags and Ingabuso to be injured, while he reaped the benefits. Quags also had the same idea. When it realized that it had been tricked by Chushu, and Chushu's strength had surpassed its own. It came up with a plan to make both Chushu and Ingabuso suffer. But the problem is, King messed up, didn't you? Ha. It seems like you two aren't a perfect match. Although Chushu kept attacking from behind, Ingabuso, who was fighting on his home turf, recovered too quickly. It was like fighting with a spring of water, unless the damage was high enough to kill it directly. Otherwise, even if you hesitated for a second, it would be back at full health and mana. I thought I was going to lose, but I didn't expect, hehe. Ingabuso stopped running away. Most of its injuries had already healed. You two idiots. You're about to die, and you're still fighting each other. Originally, you had a chance to defeat me, but unfortunately, you missed that opportunity. Ingabuso opened its arms, with a hint of disdain and mockery in its single eye. As if victory was already in its grasp. You may recover quickly, but what if? I stack enough passive abilities. Chushu said. Another sword swung down. The black sword light, carrying the power of the fully black death sword, once again landed on Ingabuso's body. Is that all? Ingabuso didn't even bother to dodge. The wound caused by this sword light only existed for less than a second before quickly healing. Engabuso didn't notice. Although the wound had healed, a strand of black, liquid-like substance silently entered its body. This is the characteristic of gel, or rather, the fully black death sword. You can heal. But every time you are injured, the fully black death sword will plant a hidden danger in your body. And now, Engabuso has accumulated enough hidden dangers in its body. Where is the passive you mentioned? Engabuso didn't know what passive layers meant, but it knew. All the injuries on its body have already healed. And in the ocean dimension, the energy within its body is endless, never running out. You are exhausted, while I am at full strength. This battle, the advantage is, boom. Before the word, I in my advantage could be spoken. Chushu's gaze turned cold. Engabuso's massive body suddenly exploded from within like a torpedo in the sea. Unbeknownst to anyone, the power of the fully black death sword had long penetrated its marrow and spread throughout its body. This is the terrifying aspect of the fully black death sword. As the sword that kills gods, winning against the strong with weakness is its most basic principle. As long as enough passive layers are stacked, whether you are a divine group, or a dimension Mephisto, the fully black death sword can silently accumulate advantages and ultimately detonate, killing gods without anyone realizing it. Achievement unlocked. First expulsion of dimension Mephisto, Winter. Congratulations on obtaining achievement reward, targeted expulsion. Ding. Achievement unlocked. First expulsion of dimension Mephisto through physical means. Congratulations on obtaining title, physical exorcist. Ah. In the moment when Chushu heard the system prompt, he was dumbfounded. Can achievements be rewarded for this too? But at the moment, compared to the rewards from the system, there is something even more important. Boss defeated. Time to pick up the loot. With the idea of licking the bag and licking the energy, Chushu looked towards the location where Engabusos died. And then he discovered a scene that was different from before. That's right. After Engabusos died, indeed a large amount of energy dropped. But these energies didn't listen to Chushu at all. Instead, they all rushed towards a spatial crack that appeared out of nowhere. Damn. Somebody looted the equipment. An idea popped into Chushu's mind, and then he decisively rushed forward, ready to snatch back his spoils. But in the instant he approached the black crack, a scene suddenly appeared in Chushu's mind in an indescribable way. A big eyeball. Damn it, I fought for nothing. Chushu was very angry. You are at least a dimensional Mephisto, the lord of the ocean dimension. Outside, you can stomp your foot and destroy the world as a werewolf. But the damn energy inside your own body doesn't belong to you. That's right. The energy inside Engabusos actually belongs to someone else. As a servant of the Eye Demon, Engabusos's power is actually all given by the Eye Demon. This is somewhat similar to the relationship between the secret arts magician of Kamar Taj and the Vishanti. Wei Shan Di lends you energy, but after you die, you have to return everything, including the interest. The relationship between Engabusos and the Eye Demon is similar. Actually, Chushu also has the opportunity to seize the opportunity. But there is a premise, which is that there must be a part of the original power of the ocean dimension in Chushu's body, so that Chushu can compete with the Eye Demon for this power after Engabusos dies. Unfortunately, Chushu doesn't have it. Damn it. Chushu's face darkened. With a fierce and evil gaze, he looked around and finally fell on Quaggas. Oh no. Quaggas felt a thump in his heart. In fact, when Engabusos suddenly died, it realized that something was wrong, but now, it's too late to run. Caecilius, we are close comrades, we are partners. Quaggas's dozen large eyes flickered. It's over. It's over now. The three-legged dominance has become one. Quaggas is well aware that it is not Chushu's opponent now. And what makes it even more afraid is how Chushu killed Engabusos. Quaggas still hasn't figured it out. How did Chushu kill a full-blooded and full blue dimensional Mephisto with just a glance? Layer of movement. I don't understand. Caecilius, what ability do you have? Tell me. If you don't explain clearly, I'm really scared. So we're close comrades? Partners, right? I remember who just said they were going to kill me? Chushu held the all-black death sword and looked at Quaggas with an unfriendly gaze. Yes. I cannot lick Engabusos' equipment myself. That's because I don't have the inherent power of the ocean dimension in my body. But Quags. If I remember correctly, there seems to be annihilation energy in my body, right? Caecilius, I was just joking with you. I thank you before it's too late. If it weren't for you, I would still be chained up. I remember your kindness. Quags looked at Chushu with a fierce and evil gaze. His voice trembled in fear. The current situation is worse than being chained up like a dog. If time could be reversed, Quags would rather be sealed for a longer time than have any more contact with this human. Why? Being sealed for oneself is only a few thousand years. Have humans become so cunning? Quags still couldn't understand. Because in its memory, humans were still ignorant and foolish, easily frightened by the illusions of the tentacle dimension, and would prostrate themselves, offering their souls as a lowly species. But now. Anyway, Quags no longer wants to have any contact with humans. I was wrong, Caecilius. Really, I was really wrong. Seeing Chu Shu remain silent and fierce, Quags became even more panicked. The key point is that it doesn't know how Enka Bussos died. It only saw Chu Shu's gaze pass by, and Enka Bussos, who was full of health and mana, exploded and died. What if? If a single gaze from the other party could kill it too? In that case, Caecilius, as long as you are willing to let me go, I can give you all the remaining annihilation energy I have. As long as the Green Hills remain, there will be no shortage of firewood. Quags decided to save its life by sacrificing its wealth. After all, it is the Lord of the Tentacle Dimension. As long as it can return alive to the Tentacle Dimension, the losses can be replenished sooner or later. However, Chu Shu remained silent. Caecilius was on the verge of collapse. He had already compromised to such an extent, wouldn't you hurry up and exterminate him? Caecilius, please be reasonable. Think about our friendship. Seeing Chu Shu still not expressing his stance, Caecilius realized that he had to go all out. Caecilius, as long as you're willing to spare me, not only will I give you all the remaining annihilation energy I have, I will regularly transfer a portion of the energy I obtained in the tentacle dimension to you. As long as you let me live, let me return to the tentacle dimension, that's all. Caecilius was on the verge of tears as he said this. Feeling wronged. Unprecedentedly wronged. Even when he was following the eye demon before, he didn't feel this wronged. Caecilius recalled that the reason he betrayed the eye demon was because the eye demon held all the power in his hands, and others only had the privilege to use it. Just like Engabosos. In name, it was the Lord of the Ocean Dimension, but in reality, its name was not even written on the property deed. It was because of this. Caecilius resolutely chose to betray the eye demon. He incorporated the tentacle dimension into his own control, forcibly transferring ownership. And now, Caecilius was essentially offering his life and fortune to share with Chu Shu. Or, one could say, paying protection money? It could be seen that he had compromised to such an extent. But Caecilius would never have expected. Chu Shu remained silent not because he had made up his mind to kill, nor because he found the stakes insufficient. Yes, Chu Shu had the intention to kill, but that was not the reason for his silence. The real reason was, system, what does this targeted expulsion reward mean? When using the exorcism ritual, directional expulsion can be used to designate and expel evil spirits to any dimension. Understood. Chu Shu understood. The previous method of expulsion was equivalent to forced repatriation. They came from where they went, and this achievement reward of directional expulsion is more like exile. That's right. Just like in movies and TV shows, exiling to Ninguda, exiling to the extreme cold of the far north. It can expel evil spirits to any dimension, instead of sending it back to its original world. Wait a moment. Isn't this operation a way to kill two birds with one stone? Chu Shu's eyes lit up. This time, the extermination of Enga Bussos obtained 2 achievements in total. The former was not surprising. From first exorcism of a demon, to first exorcism of a dimensional demon, and then to first exorcism of Dimension Mephisto. The 3 levels go from weak to strong, which is consistent with the system's usual rules. There's nothing much to say about this, but Chu Shu's second achievement was somewhat unexpected. First exorcism of Dimension Mephisto using physical means? Physical expulsion? Shouldn't this be called eradication? Regardless of how the system judges it, this achievement has obtained a new reward, a title. Physical Exorcist. Reduces damage from evil spirits by 10%. Increases damage to evil spirits by 10%. This effect is simple and direct. A stacking buff. Reduced damage taken. Increased damage output. System. Did you also play The Glory of Superheroes? Are you giving me buffs? Chu Shu couldn't help but comment. A title. The key is that it's a title that can add attributes. This thing really resembles a game product. It's hard not to suspect that the system, in its spare time, secretly used its own account to play a few rounds. No wonder I felt something was off with my performance these past 2 days. With my skills, how could I lose so many rounds? Seizing the opportunity, Chu Shu immediately shifted the blame for losing points onto the system. People are forgetful. Chu Shu only remembers how he single-handedly killed the opponents, with memories of 1 second and 5 flying darts, and various chaotic killings. As for those lost rounds, those rounds where he was pinned under the tower, unable to even gain experience, and ultimately killed like a ghost. Anyway, Chu Shu doesn't remember. That's right. It must be the system's doing. Fortunately, the demon expelling system is always rigid. It won't respond to any questions unrelated to the system. After finishing the conversation with the system, Chu Shu's consciousness returned to reality in an instant. He then heard Caecilius tearfully shouting there. Caecilius, please, I beg you, as long as you let me go, I will give you all the remaining annihilation energy I have. In addition, I will regularly transfer the energy I obtained in the tentacle dimension to you. I'm begging you, as long as you spare me. To be honest, Chu Shu was a bit confused. He didn't expect Caecilius to stoop so low in order to save his life. Come on, you're the dimension Mephisto. You should hold your ground. Do you know, Caecilius, there was a Hell Lord surnamed Bay before. It said something reasonable. Killing you, the things will still be mine. Chu Shu shook the all-black death sword in his hand. The threat was evident. Seeing that Chu Shu finally broke the silence, Caecilius was about to breathe a sigh of relief, but then heard Chu Shu's threatening words filled with killing intent. No. Where did this Hell Lord surnamed Bay come from? Can't we all sit down and have a peaceful business talk? Why must it be a black-on-black situation? Caecilius had no idea that the grass on Balast's grave was already 3 jong high. It only knew that its next words would determine whether it could survive. Caecilius. Stop, stop, stop. Now this name is not very auspicious, just call me Chu Shu directly. Without any worries, Chu Shu no longer needs to use a stage name. Chu. Caecilius's head couldn't quite wrap around it. Fortunately, it didn't matter. If you kill me, you can indeed obtain the annihilation energy within me. But you won't be able to obtain the power of the tentacle dimension. Caecilius spoke quickly, afraid that if he spoke a second too slowly, he would be instantly killed by a single glance from Chu Shu. Because the tentacle dimension is something I stole from him. You also know that I am a life created by him. I originally possessed some of his characteristics, which is why I can take control of the tentacle dimension, but you can't. If you forcefully take control of the tentacle dimension, he will detect you immediately. Caecilius reasoned with him, appealing to his emotions. In short, the meaning is that if you kill me, you can only take away the cash I have on me. But if you don't kill me, not only can you still take the cash, I will also transfer money to you every month. Give you dividends, pay protection fees. Chu Shu seemed to be persuaded, but his gaze remained fierce and menacing. First, let's agree on how to divide the energy of the tentacle dimension. Caecilius hesitated for a moment and cautiously probed, you take 4, I take 6? Swoosha the black death sword trembled lightly. Filled with killing intent. 50-50, 50-50, no, 60-40, you take 6, I take 4. As a dimensional Mephisto, Caecilius completely didn't understand what negotiation skills were. In his desperation, he directly revealed his limit of acceptance. 60-40 split, it was already the limit. If it was any less, Caecilius might not even be able to keep his position as the Dimension Lord. Okay. Fortunately, Chu Shu seemed to sense Quag's embarrassment. He didn't continue to exploit the 73 opening, or even the 82 opening. Definitely. Those who knew Chu Shu understood. If one day, Chu Shu suddenly became easy to talk to, then one must be careful. I can spare your life, Quag, but besides the conditions just mentioned, you also have to do me a small favor. The fierce and evil look in Chu Shu's eyes disappeared in an instant. With a smile on his face, as if discussing with a good friend. No problem. What do you need me to do? Quag patted his 2 tentacles. This action was equivalent to a human's cross my heart gesture. Tell me, what is it? Don't worry, first give me the annihilation energy. Okay. Although Quag was somewhat puzzled, it obediently transferred all the remaining annihilation energy in its body to Chu Shu. TMD. There's still so much left, and you told me you ran out of mana? Chu Shu looked at the surging purple energy in front of him. He cursed angrily. Now it's really gone. After transferring the energy in one breath, Quag weakly lay on the ground, feeling dispirited. Cassie. Chu Shu, now you can tell me what you need help with. Don't be nervous, it's just a test. Chu Shu approached Quag and patted its big eyeball. No, he patted Quag's big eyeball. Then he took out an exorcism card. Quag looked puzzled. Then it saw a familiar white light flash. At the same time, it also heard Chu Shu say a sentence. Send Quag, expel it to the Supreme Dimension 1. Supreme Dimension. The dimension of primal magic. It is also the residence of the Trinity, the abode of Emperor Vishnu, Goddess Oksite, ancient god Haggis, and the ancient Supreme Agamotto. The Trinity guards this place. While resisting the invasion of darkness, they also lend their magic to other magicians. Among them, the most famous faction is the secret magicians of Kamar Taj. Therefore, the Supreme Dimension has also become a holy land of white magic. However, in the next second, an unexpected guest arrived at the Holy Land. Boom. A white light flashed, throwing out a huge Patrick star. Thud. A tremor came from the void. The Trinity opened their eyes at the same time, golden pupils radiating majestic power. So, this is the future you foresaw? Half-human, half-beast Haggis looked at Goddess Oksite. The goddess remained silent for a while. 393. No, this is just the beginning. Agamotto and Haggis fell into silence. No wonder you decided not to lend your power to that kid back then. If he just didn't return it, it would have been fine. But now. After speaking, the three divine beings all focused their gaze on Patrick Star. Patrick Star, no, Quarks is now dumbfounded. Its simple brain can no longer process the current situation. What happened? Why did it come in front of these three in the blink of an eye? Emperor Vishnu. Even if Quarks is ignorant, it has heard of this name. Or rather, it is difficult to find a dimension Mephisto that has not heard of Emperor Vishnu's name. If I say I accidentally came here, would you believe me? Kuwagezi trembled and cautiously asked, Oksite? Oksite. Hogezi. Agamotto. None of the Trinity spoke. The atmosphere was quiet and somewhat terrifying. Just as Kuwagezi was scared to the point of almost losing his eyeballs, he suddenly heard a familiar voice calling out to him. Little Ku, come over here. Okay. Kuwagezi felt as if he had caught a lifeline. Without any hesitation, he responded to Chu Shu's call. Another white light flashed. The Supreme Dimension returned to calm once again. So, there will be another time for this kind of thing, right? Not just once. How about we go find the Ancient One and let the Ancient One deal with this kid? Let's forget about it. After a unanimous sigh, the Trinity ended their conversation, and the Supreme Dimension completely returned to calm. Ocean Dimension. Kuwagezi, who had experienced a trip to the Supreme Dimension, collapsed on the ground as if his bones had been sucked out. No, it was originally a soft-bodied creature. How was it? Did you meet the Emperor of the Vishan? Chu Shu asked curiously. 70-30, 70-30. Please, don't send me there again. Kuwagezi lay on the ground. His big eyes were filled with lingering fear, clearly frightened. It seems like you did meet him. Chu Shu didn't expect to gain an unexpected harvest. But from Kuwagezi, it was confirmed that directed expulsion could indeed be used to kill with a borrowed knife. This makes things easier. From now on, no matter what evil spirit we encounter, we just need to throw them all to the Emperor of the Vishan. Chu Shu seemed to have discovered a new continent. His mood was extremely good. Alright, you've helped me enough with my errands. Let me take you back to the dimension of tentacles. No, no, no. I'll go by myself. I'll go by myself. The dog bites LV Dongban, not recognizing the kindness of good people. Seeing Quag's crazy swinging tentacles and rejecting his goodwill, Chu Shu couldn't be bothered with it anymore. Anyway, the gains from this trip have been achieved. Although it didn't go exactly as planned and there were some minor incidents, fortunately, the end result is good. It's just a pity about this ocean dimension. There's nothing that can be done. The name of the eye demon is written on the house deed. Since I can't obtain it, Chu Shu has nothing to remember. I summon Cthulhu Fatagan from the Cthulhu mythos. I summon Yog Sothoth from the Cthulhu mythos. That's about it. After casually summoning two world-destroying minor characters, Chu Shu promptly left the ocean dimension. Just kidding. If I can't get something, can I leave it for you? Boom. In an instant, the space of the ocean dimension trembled. As if something indescribable had descended, boundless terror is descending. Wait for me. Wait for me. Quag, who was just lying on the ground, crawled away in fear. Using its tentacles, it tore open a spatial rift. And crawled in, rolling and crawling. Chu Shu didn't personally witness which big shot he had summoned. Anyway, before the horror arrived, he had already returned to the real dimension. As for whether the big shot summoned will come to the real universe through the rift after destroying the ocean dimension, Chu Shu is not very worried. Carefree. At worst, throw the person into the supreme dimension when the time comes. Hand it over to Emperor Weishen's headache, who made you unwilling to lend me magic back then. Chu Shu hasn't forgotten. When he first started learning magic, he called Emperor Weishen dozens of times and no one answered. Now, this is retribution. What if Emperor Weishen comes to trouble me? As soon as Chu Shu had this thought, he chuckled self-mockingly. What a joke. At most, I'll just banish Emperor Weishen too. By the way, if I banish Emperor Weishen to the DC universe, will there be chaos in the Marvel world? Chu Shu suddenly had a bold idea, as the source of white magic. If Emperor Weishen disappeared, the consequences. Chu Shu imagined it. King chanting spells for a long time, but unable to cast any spells. Just thinking about it feels interesting. But Emperor Weishen probably won't come looking for me. Great people have great tolerance. Chu Shu shook his head. He removed these absurd thoughts from his mind. Then, with a teleportation, he left the still chaotic Makalu Peak, Colorado. Just during the period when Chu Shu entered the dimension of tentacles. The arrival of Star-Lord and his team, who were driving an alien spaceship back to Earth, had already caused a sensation. Damn it. Drax, how many times have I told you? Can't you put on some clothes? Star-Lord cursed at Drax, who was as strong as Hulk, beside him. Because ever since they returned to Earth, Drax, covered in red patterns, stood out like a light bulb. One after another, the approaching humans were all excited to get Drax's autograph. Hello. I'm the most enthusiastic fan of the Devil. Look at what I'm wearing. All Devil's collaboration styles. Look at my shoes, limited edition Devil 700L. Hello. Can I interview you? Which hell are you from? The Thin Spirit Prison? Or some other hell? You don't have wings, so are you a terrestrial demon? Can we see your Devil's steel fork? You guys. Drax was completely confused by these questions. Demons. When did he become a demon? And what exactly is a demon? Can you eat it? He. Ladies and gentlemen, step aside. We have come with a mission to save the universe, please do not disturb us. Rocket Raccoon, who was overshadowed by Drax, seemed a little annoyed. He shouted and forcefully squeezed his way to the front of the crowd. Wait a minute. This raccoon can talk? I thought it was a stuffed toy. Me too. And there's a sapling toy over there. The crowd exploded, but Rocket himself felt insulted. You guys are the raccoons. Your whole family is raccoons. Rocket pulled out a gun that was even bigger than his own body from somewhere and angrily shouted. He. Star-Lord quickly held Rocket down. After finally getting rid of the enthusiastic crowd, Star-Lord pulled the 29 people aside and nervously said to them. Guys, we might have ended up in a fake Earth. These people don't find it strange at all to see us, which is really weird. When Star-Lord was 8 years old, he was abducted by the alien plunderer, Yondu. So his memories of Earth also stayed at that time. And back then, there was no strange trend of worshipping demons on Earth. Is Kevin Bacon not popular anymore? Everyone is starting to idolize a star called Demon. Star-Lord wondered. I am Groot. The little tree creature, Groot, standing on Rocket Raccoon's shoulder, asked in a childish voice. Yes, Groot, Kevin Bacon is indeed the greatest hero on Earth. But, the person we're looking for on this mission is not him. Star-Lord didn't burst Groot's fantasy, or rather, he didn't burst his own lie. Just like how Chu Shu often boasted about his world before crossing over. After Star-Lord was taken away from Earth and entered the Milky Way, he often boasted about his hometown to others. The most common operation was to turn movie scenes he watched as a child into reality. Blowing up the action stars in the movies, boasting them as superheroes who saved the world. As the saying goes, since he couldn't go back anyway, he might as well make his hometown sound good and save face for himself. But the problem is, Chu Shu boasted because he couldn't go back, but Star-Lord, he came back. Quill, are you lying? Didn't you say there are many superheroes on Earth? But why have we been here for so long and haven't encountered a single hero? Gamora was about to question Star-Lord, but before she could finish her sentence, the Guardians of the Galaxy were surrounded. 2 Quinjets hovered in the sky, and then a team of armed soldiers rushed in from both ends of the street. And then, an old acquaintance, with a charisma plus 50 and likability plus 50 buff, he made a dazzling appearance. Hello, extraterrestrial visitors, my name is Phil Coulson, a member of Earth's Shield. Phil Coulson smiled and walked out from among the soldiers. I am Groot. I like this bald guy. Oh. Mind your manners, Groot, who taught you that? Remember, even if someone is really bald, we shouldn't point it out impolitely, understand? Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon immediately began educating little Groot. Completely unaware, Phil Coulson had a black line on his face. Come on. I can't understand what this little tree is saying again. Instead, the two of you, singing in harmony, attracted everyone's attention to me. Cough. Dear extraterrestrial friends, may I ask what your purpose is for coming to Earth? Noticing that everyone's gaze fell on his almost bald Mediterranean hairstyle, Phil Coulson cleared his throat and quickly brought the topic back on track. First of all, let me correct it. They are the extraterrestrials, while I am a true Coloradoan. Star-Lord earnestly corrected Phil Coulson's mistake. And then he was about to explain the purpose of this trip. Well. But before Star-Lord could speak, impatient Gamora interrupted. Thanos wants to destroy half of the universe's life. We are here to bring reinforcements. Phil Coulson was stunned for a full 2 seconds. Thanos, it's only been a few years. The plot of Avengers Alliance 3 shouldn't have started yet, right? Ahem. Definitely. The reason Phil Coulson was stunned was because this team of humans, Little Tree, Raccoon, Big Red Guy, and Sexy Green Woman, was just strolling leisurely in a small town, taking pictures and signing autographs with a few kids. There was absolutely no sense of urgency. Such a group of people. Suddenly, I'm telling you that they have come to save the world, save the universe, and find you as reinforcements. Do you believe it? Although he didn't quite believe it in his heart, Phil Coulson, guided by the principle of diligence, still asked one more question. May I ask? Who is Thanos? Kamar Taj. Good news arrived. Quicksilver, who had almost been forgotten, finally awakened his super ability. Chu Shu had not been back from the ocean dimension for long when he received a message from Wong urging him to come to Kamar Taj. To be honest, Chu Shu had almost forgotten that this little brother-in-law was still alive. His impression of Quicksilver was still stuck in the memory of rescuing this kid from the Hydra base, and Quicksilver sacrificing himself to save Hawkeye during the Ultron crisis. That's right, Chu Shu got confused. He mixed up the movie plot that didn't happen with reality. So, why did it take you so long to awaken your ability? To come to Kamar Taj. Chu Shu asked this question as soon as he saw Quicksilver. Quicksilver was also a bit confused. Looking at his sister Wanda, intimately embracing Chu Shu and nestling up to him like a little bird. The speedster's brain couldn't quite catch up. What happened? His savior became his brother-in-law. Although Quicksilver was confused, he still honestly answered Chu Shu's question. Only to see him forming hand seals, chanting an incantation. A golden magical longsword suddenly appeared. To be honest, during this time, I was too busy learning magic with them. I only recently remembered that I still hadn't awakened my super ability. Quicksilver said. Quicksilver has become Quicksilver Magician. To be honest, Chu Shu didn't expect things to develop to this point. Imagine, Kamar Taj, which is famous for close combat magic, suddenly has a speedster. Left-hand magic shield. Right-hand magic longsword. And then, at a speed of 500 strikes per second, it stabs at your waist, cha-cha. Well, not bad, the magician profession suits you, Chu Shu commented briefly. Before, he had considered whether Quicksilver's awakening ability could help him. But now, you better not disturb the happy life between me and your sister. This is Tony Stark's phone number and his home address. You go seek revenge on him. Chu Shu said to Quicksilver, telling him to seek revenge on Tony. In reality, Chu Shu knew that Quicksilver most likely wouldn't be able to take revenge. And there was a good chance he would be recruited by Tony Stark into the Avengers. Speaking of which, Chu Shu was curious. Has Tony Stark recently awakened some kind of 100% successful recruitment super ability? Just as he brought Hercules into the Avengers. And then he brought Hercules' brother, Ares, in as well. Making the Avengers like a pyramid scheme, recruiting one after another, starting to develop a downline. Okay, after I take revenge, I'll come back to find you. Quicksilver didn't know what Chu Shu was thinking. Upon hearing the name Tony Stark, he immediately agreed without hesitation. At the moment, Wanda, after her interaction with Chu Shu during this period of time, had actually let go of her hatred in her heart. But she hadn't had a chance to stop Quicksilver. This kid, at the speed of a speedster, instantly cast a teleportation magic and disappeared with a whoosh. That's right. Quicksilver applied his super ability to magic casting. He shortened the pre-casting time to almost zero. It was basically instant casting, you know. Instant casting is an ability that only top magicians like the king can achieve. I didn't expect this kid to have such potential. Just as Chu Shu finished speaking, the Ancient One returned to Kamar Taj with Squirrel Girl. It's not just him. Among the group of children you saved, there's a little girl named Jenny, whose potential is also immeasurable. Wong already sees her as his successor. Now, Wang values this little girl more than his own life. The Ancient One smiled, although she had stepped down from the position of Sorcerer Supreme. Seeing the scene of talent flourishing and prosperity in Kamar Taj, she couldn't help but smile. By the way, boss, why did you bring her here? Could it be? Chu Shu noticed Squirrel Girl at this moment. Thinking, did the Ancient One also get beaten up by this invincible little squirrel? Cough cough, no, not at all. The Ancient One denied it, then said seriously, during the time you were out deceiving people, I have already figured out this girl's origin. She comes from Universe 2813, a rather absurd universe. The absurdity mentioned by the Ancient One naturally refers to the universe where Thanos was tied up and handed over to the police, and Dr. Doom was beaten by two squirrels, the invincible Squirrel universe. So you're going to send her back? Chu Shu glanced at Squirrel Girl. To be honest, this girl is quite cute. Two big front teeth, when she smiles, they show. When Squirrel Girl saw Chu Shu looking at her, she also smiled back. Then, taking advantage of the Ancient One's inattention, she quickly squeezed her eyebrows and mouthed, help me, I don't want to go back. Squirrel Girl doesn't want to return to her original world. Because she thinks that world was too boring. Actually, it's not surprising that Squirrel Girl had this thought, because invincibility is inherently lonely. I'm just trying it out. The Ancient One noticed Squirrel Girl's small gesture. She shook her head slightly. I am currently unable to use dark magic like astral projection. Only through astral projection can consciousness be projected into other parallel universes. As for whether this can be done to transport a living person, I can only give it a try. The dreamwalking, mentioned by the Ancient One, is a magic from the Dark God book. A definite forbidden technique. It's also in the movie Doctor Strange 2. Wanda, who has been blackened, uses black magic to possess her parallel universe self. Yeah, boss, where is the Dark God book in our universe? Chu Shu's eyes lit up. To be honest, if it weren't for the Ancient One mentioning dreamwalking, Chu Shu would have almost forgotten that there are two magical books in Marvel that can be considered artifacts. One is the Book of Vishanti. It records all white magic. This thing, along with the Eye of Agamotto, can be called the two treasures of Kamar Taj. But it's useless for Chu Shu, and the other. It is the Dark God book that records black magic. What do you want to do? The Ancient One immediately became alert. I'm telling you, kid, give up on that idea. You can summon those dimensional demons, deceive or steal their power, it's up to you. But don't have any ideas about the Dark God book. The Ancient One's tone was unusually serious. Why? Chu Shu didn't take it seriously. Behind the Dark God book are the 10 gods of black magic, aren't they? Just summon them and throw them to the Book of Vishanti. One white magic god and one black magic god, let them tear each other apart. Why else? Don't you think our world is chaotic enough? Many of the magics in that book can radiate across multiple universes, it's forbidden. If you're not worried about the increasing frequency of multi-universe invasions, then go ahead and find it. The Ancient One was right. Chu Shu really isn't worried. His personality is the type that is typically indifferent, but loves to watch the chaos, and doesn't mind if things get big. By the way, boss, did you just say that the universe of squirrels is 2813? So what is our universe's number? To be honest, it's a bit late to ask this question. Chu Shu himself feels like he might be a little absent-minded. 19,999 FL. The Ancient One uttered a number that left Chu Shu dumbfounded. Chu Shu wasn't surprised by the 19,999 at the beginning, as that is the designation for the Marvel movie universe. But what the hell is FL? After all the fuss. So, I actually crossed over into a derivative universe of the movie universe. It seems so. The real movie universe doesn't have TV show characters like Sky, so do I have to sleep one less? Ahem. Fine. I think this universe is pretty good. No wonder I can casually rewrite the timeline here without the TVA bothering me. Chu Shu seemed to understand something. It's not that there is no TVA, but our universe's Kong is already dead. The Ancient One's words were shocking to hear. Oh my god. Boss, you know Kong. Chu Shu seriously suspected that the Ancient One in front of him had read the entire script of Marvel. The Conqueror Kong. At least he's a time traveler. He has a drawer full of infinite gems in his company. Ancient One. As an impressive character, Chu Shu couldn't believe that she could use the time gem to see Kang's fate. You brat. I've told you before, the waters in this universe are deep. How long have you just stepped into the level single universe? You can't handle it. The Ancient One still had that mysterious expression. But this time, Chu Shu didn't buy it. I've already reached the level single universe with my all-black necrosword, damn it. You still treat me like a child? And you kept it from me? Tell me. How did you find out? Under Chu Shu's questioning, the Ancient One finally revealed the reason why they knew so much. The answer is actually not complicated. It's because the Ancient One traveled through parallel universes in their earlier years. They chatted with their counterparts in other parallel universes and exchanged information with the big shots in other universes. That's how they came to know so many secrets from different universes. Even some of the black magic that the Ancient One previously mastered was learned in this way. Are parallel universes so much fun? Well, it makes me want to go on a multi-universe tour. Chu Shu rubbed his chin. He really wanted to know if it feels the same when the same person from different universes sleeps. Mr. Chu Shu? What are you thinking about? Seeing the mischievous smile on Chu Shu's face, Wanda knew that he must be up to no good. Nothing. I'm just thinking about a serious question. Wanda, if I fall in love with another version of you from a different universe, does that mean I'm fickle? Or does it mean I'm unwaveringly loyal to you as a person? Chu Shu's words fried Wanda's CPU. Yes. If another version of me, someone who looks exactly like me, can't make Chu Shu fall in love with them, does that mean I'm not attractive to Chu Shu? But if he does fall in love, what does that mean? Am I cheating on myself? Wanda walked away with a puzzled expression and quietly squatted in a corner, calculating with her slender fingers. Chu Shu looked at Wanda's conflicted appearance and knew that he had successfully messed with her mind. Smack. Suddenly, a chestnut hit Chu Shu on the head. Go. Hong. The Ancient One squeezed out 2 words from between her teeth as she watched her chosen daughter-in-law being puaed. Just kidding, is it necessary? Chu Shu rubbed his head and walked towards the big direction. Just then, a call came in at the wrong time. Chu Shu hung up without even looking at it, but the next second, the phone rang again. This time it was a text message. Chu, Thanos is attacking. The team is in danger, come back quickly, your good brother, Tony. Idiot. Chu Shu glanced at it and deleted the message. Thanos again. Don't they know what year it is? The timeline of Avengers Alliance 3 hasn't even started yet. Where did Thanos come from? And the Ancient One hasn't died yet. Anyone who watches Marvel knows that if Guo-Jia doesn't die, Thanos won't appear. Chu Shu decisively ignored Tony Stark's message. And what is Thanos anyway? Can it be as important as Wanda? Outside of New York, inside the new Avengers headquarters, Captain America, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Dr. Banner, a group of veterans. Daredevil, Punisher, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Jessica Jones, a group of street heroes. Winter Soldier, the second Ant-Man, Hercules, Ares, a group of new members. And Star-Lord and his Guardians of the Galaxy. Everyone. They all focused their gaze on the embarrassed Tony Stark. Because just now, Tony Stark had solemnly made a promise to everyone. Chu Shu, my buddy, I'm familiar with him. I'm telling you, whoever Thanos, whoever saw Nua squared saw, they're all nothing in front of my brother. Tony relied on Chu Shu's reputation and made a big show in front of everyone. Once my good brother Chu Shu arrives, Thanos will surely tremble in fear. Dealing with someone like Thanos is a piece of cake. He just kept spouting tough words. This stunned everyone, especially the Guardians of the Galaxy. Especially Star-Lord. He kept asking, when did such a tough character appear on Earth? Why didn't I know? Because Chu Shu's main business is not in the universe. So the Guardians of the Galaxy had never heard of Chu Shu's name. But after Tony's words, the Guardians of the Galaxy were also intrigued and eagerly anticipated the appearance of this ultimate boss. So you're saying, Chu Shu is a hero even more powerful than Kevin Bacon? Rocket Raccoon excitedly rubbed his paws together. I am Groot. I want to get Chu Shu's autograph. Just as everyone was eagerly waiting for Tony to make a move. The call ended. No reply to the text message either. Time passed minute by minute. A drop of sweat slowly trickled down Tony's forehead. Well, maybe he's busy. Chu Shu usually deals with those tough characters from hell, those hellish lords, in these alternate dimensions. Tony still wanted to salvage some dignity for himself. But no one believed him anymore. Oh, by the way, Phil Coulson, last time I heard Fury say that you have a good relationship with Chu Shu, right? Black Widow looked at Phil Coulson, the current Phil Coulson. Besides being a level 9 agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., that's right, he got an upgrade, he also has another identity. A freelance member of the Avengers, known as the Goodwill Hero. That's right. Characters like Daredevil, Luke Cage, and even Hercules. They were all recruited by Phil Coulson with his charisma plus 50 and affinity plus 50. But this time, faced with Black Widow's inquiry, a hint of embarrassment appeared on Phil Coulson's face. It was going well, but there was a small accident in the middle. Phil Coulson smiled awkwardly. Back then, after the ceiling incident, he sent Chu Shu apology messages for more than 20 days, but Chu Shu didn't reply to any of them. Then Phil Coulson realized that he had been blocked. Black Widow fell silent. Actually, recently, when Chu Shu had nothing to do, he often came to the headquarters of the Avengers. Not to play FPS shooting games with Hawkeye, but to have Black Widow pretend to be his sister and scam unsuspecting players for level 3 helmets and level 3 backpacks. When the Avengers Alliance cafeteria was open, Chu Shu was quite diligent in going there. It made the Avengers Alliance members think that Chu Shu had changed his mind. Although he didn't admit it verbally, they had already assumed that he was a member of the Avengers. But no way, he was just here for a free meal. When something really happened, he was nowhere to be seen. Well, it seems we can't count on Chu Shu, Captain America sighed. But just because Chu Shu didn't come, it doesn't mean we won't save the world, right? That's not the Avengers' principle. Back to the point, what is the purpose of this Thanos? Seeing everyone skipping this embarrassing topic, Tony, who had fully recovered, jumped in. Xandar has been destroyed by Thanos. He and his army killed half of the lives on that planet and took the Universal Spirit Ball. Gamora finished speaking. The Avengers Alliance members were all confused. Sorry, where is this Xandar you're talking about? And what is the Universal Spirit Ball? Rustic Old Hats. A group of rustic old hats. This was the first impression of the Avengers Alliance by the Silver Shield team. Rocket Raccoon glanced at Star-Lord with a skeptical look, meaning something like, are you sure they can help? These people probably haven't even stepped out of the solar system. They don't even know who Thanos is. Are you sure they can help with a crisis of this level in the universe? Ahem, well, the Cosmic Orb is actually the Power Stone in the Infinite Gems. Do you guys know about the Infinite Gems? Feeling a bit embarrassed by his comrades' doubts about his home planet, Star-Lord cleared his throat and started introducing. To prevent the Avengers Alliance from not even knowing about the Infinity Stones. Star-Lord was also prepared to explain further. But before he could say anything, the Avengers Alliance showed their usual expressions. Tony even took out an orange-yellow gem from his pocket. What cosmic orb? Why don't you just say infinite gems? We're familiar with this. There are already 4 known infinite gems on Earth. The orange gem in Tony's hand was the mind gem that was taken from Ultron. Except for this one. The other 3 infinite gems on Earth are in the hands of Chu Shu. The reality gem, space gem, and the time gem embedded in the eye of Agamotto. Originally, Tony planned to give the mind gem to Chu Shu, but since Chu Shu reached the level of true Heavenly Father, his need for the infinite gems wasn't as strong anymore. So, that matter was left unresolved. 4 of them. You have 4 infinite gems on Earth. Rocket Raccoon, who just thought Earthlings were rustic old hats, almost jumped out of his chair upon hearing Tony's words. There are only 6 of these things in the entire universe. Why does Earth have so many? Could it be that the universe revolves around Earth? In fact, Rocket Raccoon guessed right. In the Marvel universe, almost all major events revolve around Earth. And the Ancient One mentioned before that the dimensional axis of the main world is on Earth. Once disasters like dimensional collisions occur, the Earth is always the first to suffer. So, you're saying Thanos' true goal is to collect the infinite gems? Black Widow relied on her agent's intuition, instantly realizing that the Power Stone was just the beginning. No, the infinite gems are just a means to an end. Thanos' true goal is to wipe out half of the universe's life. To restore balance to the universe. Ever since Thanos became self-aware, it has been acting towards this goal. Before, it would massacre planet after planet, leading its Vanguard and Chitauri armies, waging war throughout the universe. But then it found this process too slow, so it started collecting the infinite gems. If it successfully collects all 6 infinite gems, then it can achieve its dream with a snap of its fingers. Just like this. Gamora, with a serious expression, snapped her fingers, making a sound. However, she didn't notice. At that moment, the expressions of the Avengers Alliance had become very strange. Don't you aliens study biology? Tony had a strange expression. In biology, there's something called K2. If the carrying capacity of an environment is K, then the population grows fastest when it reaches K2. In other words, when a species is reduced by half, it actually experiences the fastest population growth stage. If Thanos really intends to maintain universal balance by eliminating half of life, then it would probably have to snap its fingers every now and then. Tony, Let's not worry about the details for now. Haven't we seen enough unscientific things during this time? Fortunately, Captain America stepped in and brought the topic back on track. But Tony still had an indifferent expression. The reason was simple. If Thanos needs to collect all 6 infinite gems to snap his fingers, then why are we lying? Does it have the ability to take the 3 gems from Chushu's hands? Tony leaned back on the couch, muttering something like, "I'm invincible, my good brother," under his breath. However, just as Tony relaxed his guard for a moment, a silver lightning bolt came straight at him. Watch out. Hercules and Ares, the 2 Greek gods, were the first to notice the crisis. Then, Hawkeye, Iron Fist, and others also reacted. Captain America picked up the vibranium shield next to him, wanting to save Tony. But their speed was too slow. In front of that silver lightning, everyone's movements were as slow motion in a movie. But one person reacted. Thud. The silver lightning was blocked by a specially made blind cane. It was Daredevil, although he couldn't keep up with Quicksilver's movements. But his super hearing and echolocation-like ability allowed him to predict Quicksilver's next move based on the motion trajectory he left behind. Tony Stark. Your time is up. Unable to land a single attack, Quicksilver was surrounded by a dozen Avengers, but he showed no fear. These people were too slow, couldn't keep up with him at all. After saying a few words, Quicksilver's figure disappeared in an instant. Where did he go? Captain America's voice had just fallen. He felt his body become light, as if he had been punched at high speed. He soared into the air, somersaulted, and fell to the ground. Stand behind me. Luke Cage relied on his indestructible steel body to protect the others. But the next second, a golden teleportation portal appeared under his feet. He stepped into nothingness. Luke Cage was directly transported to a snowy mountain. It's magic. Hawkeye took out his bow and arrow, nervously looking around. Quicksilver would leave a silver trail when he moved. But his speed was too fast, so these silver trails almost formed a straight line. Even Hawkeye couldn't determine Quicksilver's exact location. How about that? Didn't you anticipate this step? When Hawkeye heard Quicksilver's mockery, he was sent flying. The bow and arrow fell to the ground. Damn, what's going on? Why do I feel like they need support more than we do? The members of the Guardians of the Galaxy were a bit confused by the sudden change in front of them. They hesitated for a moment. They still decided to lend a hand. But before Drax the Destroyer could step forward, the familiar golden portal appeared again at his feet. Quill! Drax shouted, and was thrown into a vast ocean by the portal. Quicksilver, who had learned magic, was no longer as simple as 1 + 1 = 2 in terms of strength. In his high-speed movement, he could use his advantage as a speedster to make quick judgments and cast magic in an instant. And Quicksilver was very clever. Like Luke Cage, Drax the Destroyer. These tough characters that he couldn't handle on his own. Quicksilver didn't confront them head-on, but instead teleported them to other places, leaving only Captain America, Hawkeye, these weaker characters that he could handle on his own. With this fighting strategy, Quicksilver quickly gained the absolute advantage on the field. But he made a mistake that villains often make, talking too much. Tony Stark. You executioner. You killed my parents. Do you know how many people died because of the weapons you created? While knocking down other members of the Avengers Alliance, Quicksilver approached Tony Stark. At the same time, he vented his anger loudly. Tony looked confused. Dude, how long has it been since I sold weapons? And those terrorists' weapons were secretly sold by Obadiah Stane, not me. What does it have to do with me? But Quicksilver obviously didn't care about these things. He was now consumed by revenge. Just as the situation became more and more dangerous, someone stepped forward, with his aura, aka the likable hero. Hello, my name is Phil Coulson. Let's talk about what we can do. Just as Chushu had anticipated, Quicksilver's assassination attempt failed, and instead he joined the Avengers. Wanda, upon hearing this news, found it hard to believe. She knew just how stubborn Quicksilver was. To think that he would let go of his hatred and even become Tony Stark's teammate. Wanda couldn't imagine who could make that happen. Mr. Chushu. Could it be that Tony Stark is controlling my brother with the mind gem? Wanda couldn't help but entertain a conspiracy theory. The thought of her brother being manipulated mentally made Wanda's eyes glow scarlet. Hiss, be gentle, we're trying to get things done, don't get distracted. If someone on Earth were to use the mind gem, I would be able to sense the energy fluctuations. So rest assured. Your brother was most likely persuaded by a bald old man's aura. Chushu comfortably leaned back on the sofa, relinquishing all control to Wanda. Now, the Hell dimension has been mostly unified. All that's left is for the dimensional barriers of the remaining fragmented Hell dimensions to naturally integrate. Gila has already noticed this trend, as the edges of the eternal Hell and the succubus Hell have begun to make contact. If this trend continues, it won't be long before the major Hell dimensions reassemble and form a complete alternate dimensional space. From several fragmented pocket spaces, they will merge into a complete dimensional space. By then, Chu Shu, who controls Hell, will truly become the Dimension Lord. Well, after driving away demons all my life, I end up becoming the Dimension Mephisto myself. Chu Shu self-mockingly chuckled. As he spoke, he switched legs, putting down his left leg and lifting his right leg, continuing to have Wanda massage it. Yes, massage. What did you think? There shouldn't be much left to do now. Just waiting for Erisham to come knocking. Chu Shu squinted contentedly. Finally, he can go back to living a carefree life. Just as Chu Shu was enjoying Scarlet Witch's leg massage, the Ancient One returned to the holy place in New York with Squirrel Girl. What, didn't send her back? Chu Shu didn't even look and already knew what had happened. The Ancient One didn't answer. Instead, she pushed Squirrel Girl towards Chu Shu. I'm leaving her to you. She doesn't want to go back herself. In addition, I have to go find Atlas. The Ancient One's face turned serious. Chu Shu opened his eyes after listening. Are there invaders from other universes coming again? I'm not sure. Anyway, there's a new passage that has appeared. After the Ancient One finished speaking, he gave some instructions, mainly, don't cause trouble while I'm away, don't try to get the Dark God's book, and so on. Chu Shu readily agreed. Then, as soon as the Ancient One opened a portal to the depths of the universe and left, Chu Shu immediately changed his expression. Alright, stop complaining, I'll take you to find the Dark God's book. Chu Shu held Wanda's hand. Just kidding. The main thing is to be rebellious. Let me think, the Dark God's book first appeared in the movie universe. TMD, even a robot dares to be with my Wanda. Chu Shu cursed inwardly. The Dark God's book first appeared in the TV series, Wanda, Vision. It was held by the evil witch Agatha. However, this is a story that takes place in the true Marvel 19,999 cinematic universe. Chu Shu is in 19,998 flat due to the butterfly effect. The Vision robot never came into existence. Therefore, the plot of Wanda, Vision, naturally could not happen. But the witch Agatha, she must still be hiding somewhere. Where are you going? Seeing Chu Shu and Wanda wanting to leave, Squirrel Girl quickly asked. Adults are doing things, children shouldn't inquire so much. After saying this, Chu Shu left a sentence and left New York's holy place with Wanda. As the holder of the Dark God book, conventional search magic cannot locate the whereabouts of the witch Agatha. Fortunately, Chu Shu knows a simple way. This old witch has lived for hundreds of years, so she must have a lot of magical energy in her body. I just recorded all the special locations on the core of the holy place. We'll check them one by one. That's right. Chu Shu is prepared to use the method of exhaustion. There are only a few people on Earth who can be called great magicians. Kamar Taj alone has several. The rest are scattered all over the Earth. At the core of holy places, their energy reactions can be seen, although we don't know who each of them is. But it doesn't matter. You'll know when you go and see. At worst, it's just a global vacation, while Chu Shu and Wanda were wandering around the world. In the depths of the universe. A place of emptiness, darkness, and eternal silence without a single star. A little girl is swinging on a swing. The swing has no frame, as if hanging in the void. The girl is barefoot, swinging back and forth on the swing. The girl stops. Little Ancient One, is it you? Cough. Yes. The Ancient One appears in front of the little girl. The Ancient One, who has lived for hundreds of years, does not refute the little girl's use of the word, little. Because the girl in front of her is the embodiment of the anchor of the universe, Atreides. Atreides doesn't really have an age, because in each universe, the anchor of that universe has already appeared since its birth. Little Ancient One, did you come because of the collision of the multi-universe? Atreides jumps off the swing. She looks about 10 years old. Very cute. But she keeps calling him Little Ancient One, and even wants to jump up and touch the Ancient One's bald head. Why don't you have hair, Little Ancient One? As soon as Atreides finishes speaking, a head of thick black hair appears on the Ancient One's head. With waist-length hair, the Ancient One suddenly looks more than 10 years younger. Don't be silly, I'm here to talk about serious matters. But the Ancient One doesn't appreciate it, waves his hand, and turns himself back into a bald head. Atreides pouts unhappily. She sits back on the swing and obediently waits for the Ancient One to speak. Our universe's dimensional barrier has been damaged. Can you repair it? The Ancient One asks. I've done my best. Upon hearing this question, a hint of helplessness appears on Atreides' little face. If it's just parallel universes like ours that have problems, then I can solve it. But Atreides waved her little hand. Immediately, a huge picture composed of countless spheres appeared in front of the two. Inside each sphere were countless stars, countless nebulae. Look, these are universes just like ours. This one is our universe, 19,999 FL, and this one is the universe 19,999 where the golden timeline is located, and this one. This one is the 616 universe that had a little collision with us recently. And this one, the 2813 universe, a very strange universe. Atreides introduced each sphere in front of them. Each seemingly inconspicuous sphere is a parallel universe of Marvel. One after another, like a pearl necklace, they are interconnected, forming a huge picture. There are too many parallel universes in Marvel. But as I just said, if only these universes had collisions with us. Then I can still contact the universe anchors of these universes, join forces with them, and solve the collision threat. But now, Atreides waved her hand again. A familiar picture appeared in front of the two. Especially the Ancient One, she was very familiar with the location in the picture. Because it was inside the holy place in New York, where the practice room was opened with mirror space magic. What happened here? Ancient One stared at the picture. There was no one in the picture, and there was no sound. But in the next second, a handsome blonde man appeared out of thin air. He was alone in the practice room, talking to himself as if he was talking to someone. This man is called Lucifer, Lucifer Morningstar. He is very powerful, extremely powerful. But he is not from our world. The key point is, he is not present in any other parallel universe either. Atreides introduced the blonde man in the picture. A hint of doubt appeared in her eyes. It seems that someone has summoned him. But the strange thing is, I searched through the timeline and couldn't find this person. Whether it's the past or the future, I can't see any trace of this person. This visitor named Lucifer from Otherworld is always chatting with the air. By the way, little Ancient One, do you know who this person is? Atreides suddenly looked curiously at Ancient One. Ancient One rubbed her nose awkwardly and then said very seriously. I don't know, I have no idea, I've never heard of him. When the Ancient One left the anchor of the universe, she came to a conclusion. The consequences of the dimensional barrier breaking were even more troublesome than expected. Atlas's meaning is simple. If it were just parallel universes from Marvel colliding with each other, then she could still greet the anchors of other universes and solve the crisis of collision together. But now, what Lucifer Morningstar, what Skynet, what Cthulhu Fatagan? A bunch of random things from who knows which world, one after another, came to this universe. Atlas searched for a long time, but couldn't find where these invaders' universes are. Atlas stomped her feet in anger, angrily said. If I find out who summoned these guys, I'll, It was at this moment that the Ancient One silently left the anchor of the universe. Good luck, kid. The Ancient One felt that she hadn't betrayed Chushu and had done her best. There's no way around it. Atlas is just like this, and is the embodiment of the anchor of the universe. This little girl may seem harmless, but in reality, she is a top-notch powerhouse. However, from Atlas, the Ancient One still received a definite message. That is, there has been another small-scale universe collision recently. And this time, the collision is not with Marvel's parallel universes. Damn it. The Ancient One regretted it, very regretful. She should have thrown Chushu into another parallel universe in Marvel. Let him wreak havoc on other universes' Ancient Ones. A bunch of trouble, might as well be dead, the Ancient One grumbled. But she still followed the coordinates provided by Atlas and found the point of this universe collision. But as she passed through the portal, the Ancient One, who was used to storms and waves, was stunned. Because in front of her, there was a massive giant battleship that could be called a fortress in space. What's more important is, the Ancient One recognizes this battleship. The point of the cosmic collision this time is inside the destroyed spaceship. The Ancient One was stunned, because the giant battleship in front of her is Thanos' Holy Place No. 2. And the specific coordinates provided by Atlas are inside this battleship. While the Ancient One was observing, Holy Place No. 2 also noticed the sudden appearance of the Ancient One. For a moment, the alarm sounded, especially in the command room of the battleship, after scanning and analyzing the identity of the Ancient One. The alarm was immediately raised to the highest level of alertness. What? The Ancient One is attacking. Upon hearing the news, Ebony Maw, one of Thanos' Black Order, rushed into the command room like a flying object. Then he saw the Ancient One displayed on the scanning machine. The Ancient One in space, observing Holy Place number 2 from a far distance. And her every move was presented to Ebony Maw in a one-to-one holographic projection. Gulp. Ebony Maw swallowed his saliva, although it is also known as the space necromancer. But compared to a true magician, especially compared to the Ancient One, there is still a big difference. What is the threat level shown on the scan? Ebony Maw didn't dare to be negligent. Even though it was mentioned in the previous intelligence work that the Ancient One's power had greatly diminished after the battle with Dormammu, and even the position of Sorcerer Supreme had been given to someone else. But Ebony Maw still didn't dare to be careless. Because their destination is Earth. After destroying the planet Xandar and obtaining the Power Stone, Thanos gave the order. The army sets off. Go to Earth. Thanos said, Odin is missing, the Ancient One's power has greatly diminished, there is no one on Earth who can stop it. But who could have imagined? Just as the warship had just started, Asgardian and the Ancient One from Earth came knocking on the door. Could the intelligence be wrong? Has the Ancient One's power not decreased? Ebony Maw's heart skipped a beat, and an idea popped into his mind. Threat level, level 3. Fortunately, at this moment, the warship's scan finally analyzed the Ancient One's true combat power. Hearing the threat level 3, Ebony Maw finally breathed a sigh of relief. She doesn't even have the power of the Allfather? Then why did she come? You keep an eye on her. I will report this matter. With these words, Ebony Maw left the control room and headed straight for the cabin where Thanos was. And then, not long after, a surprised shout came from within Holy Place number 2. Where did I, such a big purple sweet potato, go? No, Ebony Maw definitely didn't say it like that. But the meaning is roughly the same. That's right. Thanos is missing. Just like those invaders from parallel universes unexpectedly arriving in the 19,999 FL universe. When two universes collide and create a fleeting rift. The existence of the 19,999 FL universe can also travel to other universes. Because the passage is mutual. Ebony Maw, why did you summon us here? Yeah. Didn't you say the Ancient One was attacking? Where is she? Soon, the other 4 members of the Black Order received Ebony Maw's urgent message. They were all teleported to the main ship, Holy Place number 2. Among them, Corvus Glaive, the leader of the Black Order, and his wife Proxima Midnight, from the neighboring star, were even teleported from hundreds of light years away using a long-distance teleportation device. And so it was. Thanos has gathered all the members of the Black Order. They are Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, Ebony Maw, Black Dwarf, and Supergiant, who did not appear in the movie. What about the Ancient One? Proxima Midnight walked to the control panel and activated the scanning device in Holy Place number 2. No threats were detected, not to mention the Ancient One. Not even a trace of a person was found. The Ancient One has already left. Ebony Maw replied to Proxima Midnight's question in a deep voice. Then why did you gather us here? I was already close to tracking down the clue to the Soul Gem. And now you've ruined it all. Among the Black Order, Supergiant, who possesses abilities such as mind control, telepathy, and memory theft, expressed her dissatisfaction. She is the most skilled in tracking and investigation among the 5 members. She was praised by Thanos as a level universe investigator. Ebony Maw, I hope you can give me a reasonable explanation. Corvus Glaive, the leader of the Black Order, spoke with a gloomy tone. Thanos has disappeared. He disappeared along with the Infinity Stones. Ebony Maw stated the reason. In an instant, the faces of the other members of the Black Order were filled with question marks. Meanwhile, in the DC universe, above Gotham City, a burly purple figure was thrown down, inside Thanos' exclusive cabin. The imposing and majestic purple figure has long disappeared. Only a cold throne remains. Well, good, your purple ass finally wasn't welded to the toilet, shoo shoo. The Black Order has gathered here. Level Universe Scout, Supergiant, investigated all the cobweb traces in the cabin. Finally came to a conclusion. That's right. Thanos is indeed missing. Based on the residual aura in the cabin, Supergiant deduced that there was once a spatial rift here. No one knows where it leads. Thanos should have entered this rift and been transported to a very distant place. So distant that even quantum communication cannot establish contact with it. So what do we do now? Among the Black Order, possessing super defense and super strength, Black Dwarf, who can be called the space version of the Hulk, raised a question. Unlike other followers of Thanos, Black Dwarf only pledged allegiance to Thanos out of necessity for the survival of his race. So as soon as he heard that Thanos was missing, Black Dwarf's first thought was to quickly disband, pack up, and return to his hometown or wherever he came from. But Corvus Glaive, the leader of the Black Order, clearly didn't think so. Don't worry. No matter where Thanos has gone, he will come back. Don't forget, our master, Thanos, is a man who can't even be held by death. So, let's do what we need to do. Even if Thanos is not here, we must continue with the original plan to help him find the Infinity Stones. Corvus Glaive looked around, his eagle-like gaze sweeping over everyone. Exerting his authority as the leader of the Black Order. Supergiant, you continue to track the clues of the Soul Gem, and make sure to speed up the progress. Yes. Supergiant nodded, turned around and left. As Supergiant's graceful figure disappeared, Corvus Glaive looked at the other three, Black Dwarf, Ebony Maw, and Proxima Midnight. The Ancient One's power has declined, it has become a fact. We don't need to worry about that anymore. Odin has also been missing for a long time. So, there is no one on Earth who can stop us. We can easily obtain the 4 Infinity Stones, so we must complete the mission before Thanos returns. Corvus Glaive's meaning is simple. Even if the leader is away on a business trip. Not in the company. Everyone still needs to work hard and improve performance. Strive to give him a big surprise when the leader returns. Thanos will come back. With the Power Stone, he is invincible wherever he goes. And as long as we quietly wait for his return and complete all the tasks he has set, we will be fine. The army is on the move. Head to Earth. Corvus Glaive waved his hand. Under the cover of a fully equipped fleet of Outrider warships, the massive Sanctuary E flagship formed a large expeditionary fleet and headed towards Earth. This battle. The advantage is mine. At the same time. On Earth. After traveling around the world, Chu Shu and Wanda finally found the hiding place of the witch Agatha in a small country in Eastern Europe. Before this, Chu Shu and Wanda had met many secluded and mysterious magicians. For example, there was a necromancer named Dacum, an old man who dressed like Santa Claus. There was a priestess named Jennifer, skilled in illusions, hypnotic abilities, and explosive magic. There was also a witch named Huang Yu, skilled in healing magic, able to eliminate fear and hatred in others' hearts, and inject life force into creatures, making flowers bloom in the desert. These secluded necromancers, magicians, and priests scattered around the world. Each had their own special abilities. Among them, the most memorable thing for Chu Shu was an old man with a white beard in a remote town of the Empire where the sun never sets. The old man claimed to be Merlin. He said he was the all-knowing observer of the universe. He boasted even more than the Court of Life. But when Chu Shu made a move, the old man immediately begged for mercy, saying he was just a duplication, and so on. Anyway, Chu Shu didn't believe a word. Before leaving, Chu Shu did all sorts of bad things, kicked the old man's cane, and even used a lighter to set fire to the old man's beard. Still the all-knowing observer of the universe? You're blowing it like it's real. I don't believe it. If you have the ability, come find me. Now, the reason why Chu Shu and Wanda were able to find Agatha's hiding place so quickly is actually thanks to the witch they found before, Huang Yu. She had once joined an organization called the Witch Clan, which included Agatha as a member. With Huang Yu's guidance, Chu Shu and Wanda saved a lot of effort and directly found Agatha's hiding place. In front of them was a medieval European-style castle. A bit gothic in style. Pushing open the creaking courtyard gate, what came into view was a yard overgrown with weeds, with scattered leaves on the pathway and ivy climbing up the walls. It looked like it had been abandoned for a long time. Be careful, there are rune symbols here. As soon as Wanda entered the yard, she sensed something and immediately whispered a reminder. Chu Shu followed Wanda's gaze. On the wall, in the area covered by ivy, one could vaguely see some kind of pattern engraved on it. Why so cautious? Chu Shu waved his hand. Boom. The entire courtyard was instantly destroyed by a force. The walls turned into rubble, the grass disappeared, and the entire area turned into nothingness. Fresh soil was exposed. But there were still a few glowing runes hanging in the air where the walls used to be. These were the rune symbols that Wanda had mentioned. The meaning of these symbols is, only the caster of the runes can use magic within a specific space. But this thing is ineffective for me. The Ancient One has already taught me the decryption method for these runes. Wanda only took a glance and understood the function of these runes. That's my Wanda, she learns quickly. Chu Shu rubbed Wanda's head and praised her. Different from the Wanda in the neighboring 19,999 movie universe. Under the careful guidance of the Ancient One, Chu Shu's Wanda has gained a clear understanding of origin magic power, and she hasn't missed any knowledge related to magic. How about I hand this guy over to you? Chu Shu's voice just fell. Boom. A loud noise. The gate of the castle opened with a bang. Immediately after, a large-sized black panther pounced forward. Behind Black Panther, a disheveled witch walked out with a gloomy face. Who are you? Agatha held a ball of evil purple energy in her hand. Her gaze scanned Wanda and Chu Shu. Origin magic power. Agatha first noticed the red energy in Wanda's eyes. Her face changed instantly, first with surprise, then with indescribable excitement. Because Agatha possessed a forbidden technique that could absorb others' magic. And now, the most powerful magic she had longed for, origin magic power, had actually come to her doorstep. As long as she absorbed it, Agatha would become the most powerful magician in the entire universe. Ha ha ha. Agatha let out a standard witch's sinister laughter. While laughing, her scrutinizing gaze fell on Chu Shu next to Wanda. At first, Agatha didn't pay much attention. Because she didn't perceive anything special about Chu Shu, not even his strength. He should just be an ordinary person, but... Agatha froze. She only took a glance at Chu Shu, because if she looked again, she would explode. This is impossible. This is impossible. Agatha took a shocked step back after glancing at Chu Shu. As if she had seen a ferocious beast or a raging flood. Her face was filled with astonishment. Chu Shu was also a bit puzzled, because he had just said to let Wanda deal with Agatha. So he had hidden his true strength, in theory. With Agatha's strength, it should be impossible for her to perceive his true combat power, right? In fact, Chu Shu guessed correctly. Agatha indeed did not perceive his strength. What truly shocked and frightened Agatha was the faint aura emanating from Chu Shu. That was the aura of the god of black magic, the great shadow of Zisuen. It's impossible. How could an ordinary person like you have his aura? I must have been mistaken. Yes, I must have been mistaken. Agatha shook her head repeatedly, as the holder of the Book of Darkness. For a moment, Agatha looked at Chu Shu as if she had seen Zisuen. But fortunately, this aura was not particularly strong. The reason for this illusion in Agatha's eyes was not complicated. It was because Chu Shu had obtained the great shadow cloak of Zisuen. This cloak, just like the Book of Darkness, was one of the several artifacts left by Zisuen on Earth. I must have been mistaken. Agatha comforted herself, thinking that she must have been mistaken just now. After all, in her eyes, Chu Shu was just an ordinary person without any combat power. Little witch, your little boyfriend really startled me. Agatha, who had regained her composure, once again focused her gaze on Wanda. Origin magic power. In Agatha's eyes, a strong greed once again appeared. What did you say? Wanda wasn't angry just now. But as soon as she heard Agatha's contemptuous tone when mentioning Chu Shu, a red light flashed in her eyes. Ha ha ha. Seeing Wanda getting angry, Agatha became even happier. That's right. Just like this. The angrier you get, the better. Use your origin magic power to attack me. That way, I can absorb your power. Little witch, it seems like you care a lot about this man. I wonder, if I were to kill him, would you shed tears? Agatha opened her arms and kept provoking Wanda with her words, trying to make Wanda launch an attack. Unexpectedly, Wanda heard Agatha's words. She looked at Agatha as if she were looking at a fool, shook her head, and said, Mr. Chu Shu, she said she wants to kill you. Alright, Wanda, stop wasting time with these two idiots. I'm afraid you'll be led astray by her. Chu Shu made a little joke. Wanda pouted. I'm not an idiot. After saying that, a crimson teleportation gate appeared under Wanda's feet in an instant. The characteristic of origin magic power allows Wanda to bypass all the cumbersome methods such as incantations and gestures. Instantly cast any form of magic. What? Seeing Wanda disappear in an instant, a chill surged in Agatha's heart. Something's not right. It's very, very wrong. Your origin magic power should be playing a game of cat and mouse with me, so that I can absorb it. But why did you teleport in place? However, soon enough, Agatha's doubts were answered. Boom. A crimson circular teleportation gate suddenly appeared behind Agatha, about 2 or 3 meters above the ground. Wanda fell from the portal, holding a crimson energy longsword. Upon hearing the noise, Agatha quickly turned her head. Roar. The Black Panther that had been following Agatha also let out a roar. But their actions were too slow. Poochie. Wanda thrust her sword. Agatha didn't even have the opportunity to use her prepared black magic. Because Wanda doesn't engage in long-range attacks with you at all. Times have changed. This is the secret magic of Kamar Taj. Agatha looked at the magic blade piercing through her chest, her eyes filled with incomprehension. Isn't it? Who taught you close combat? Isn't long-range attack more advantageous? You are the holder of origin magic power. With just a flick of your finger, you can change everything. Why bother learning from those crazy warriors of Kamar Taj and play close combat? Do you think I'm stupid? The soul-devouring magic, the evil forbidden technique created by Sisong, I have learned it. While pulling out the magic blade, Wanda pointed at the faint black magic on Agatha's body. This is the advantage of following the Ancient One. Whether it's white magic or black magic, you can learn them all. Even some forbidden evil techniques that cannot be used, with powerful side effects. The Ancient One will also teach Wanda how to identify these black magic and the fighting methods against them. The Elder was right, a magician must practice physical training. Seeing Agatha fall to the ground with just one slash, Wanda became even more convinced of the Ancient One's teaching methods. A magician must have a strong body, they must increase their HP. Maximize their close combat ability. They absolutely cannot be like traditional magicians, high offense and low defense. Once they are approached by enemies, they can only be slaughtered. Agatha is a typical negative example, a typical traditional magician. Roar. Seeing their master lying on the ground, barely breathing. Agatha's Black Panther let out a roar, just about to pounce on Wanda. Booza. A purple annihilation beam shot out from Chu Shu's fingertips, instantly turning Black Panther into nothingness. But Black Panther didn't die, instead transforming into a black cat. Meow, Ebony. With only a breath left, Agatha weakly called out the black cat's name. She reached out a trembling hand, and then, the next second. Booza. Sorry, I can't stand tragic scenes of separation and death. Chu Shu had promised not to let even a hint of sentimental scenes appear in this book. So, immediately following was another annihilation beam, kindly sending Agatha over to reunite with her cat. Chu Shu. Do good deeds every day, I'm such a good person. Wanda. After eliminating Agatha and her black cat, Chu Shu and Wanda entered the castle, passing through a pile of ancient pots, pans, skulls, specimens, stones, and so on, all sorts of evil artifacts. Finally, in a secret room within the castle, the two encountered the legendary Dark God book. This thing was 3 or 4 times the file size of a regular book, the kind you had to hold with both hands to read. Apart from its size, an evil black and red aura always lingered around its cover. After seeing the Dark God book, Wanda's gaze became unfocused for a moment. And then, the next second, she snapped back to reality and quickly cast a layer of mental magic on herself. Mr. Chu Shu, this thing is tempting me, it wants me to read it. Wanda said warily. Is that so? Then let me take care of this bad book. Chu Shu, because of his pure soul, didn't notice anything unusual. After saying that, he prepared to pick up the book. However, in the instant he reached for it, the voice of the Ancient One suddenly transmitted to Chu Shu's ears through a voice transmission spell. You brat. Where are you? I just came back from space. Why can't I find you in the holy place of New York? Where did you go? And why did you bring Wanda with you? Before, what was that? Yeah, the Eternal Clan. Didn't they say that some kind of mutant monster awakened? I was thinking of taking Wanda out for a spin, to have some real combat experience. After all, theory must be combined with practice, right? No. Then where can I go? How could I possibly go and find some dark divine book? Boss, I have always remembered your earnest teachings. Don't believe me? Ask Wanda, inside the holy place in New York. After listening to Chu Shu's words, the Ancient One's gaze fell on Wanda. What Mr. Chu Shu said, it's true. Wanda's voice was weak and feeble, and she kept her head down, not daring to meet the Ancient One's gaze. In contrast, Chu Shu's face remained calm, showing no signs of guilt, as if he had done nothing wrong and was not afraid of any consequences. The Ancient One clenched their teeth. Well, now lying doesn't even make their face turn red. Chu Shu didn't have mind-reading abilities, so he didn't know what the Ancient One was thinking. If he did, he would only say one thing. Kidding, when did I ever blush? Professionalism is at stake here. This is how I make a living. Alright. The Ancient One nodded. They concealed their killing intent and instead revealed a kind smile. Kid. This time I met with Atreides. She has forgiven the person who broke the dimensional barrier, which is you. And Atreides also mentioned. She wants to meet you and understand how you summoned those world visitors. The Ancient One said. They emphasized once again how lovely and innocent Atreides was. Boss. Why do I feel like what you're saying doesn't quite add up? The more Chu Shu listened, the more he felt that something was off. Especially the smile of the Ancient One, it resembled the smile he used to deceive those demons. No. This is definitely not right. Chu Shu decisively formatted the words spoken by the Ancient One from his mind, letting them enter through one ear and exit through the other, simply not believing them. Ah. You little brat, you're like a slippery eel. Angering me. Fortunately, the Ancient One's cultivation of inner energy was still decent. He managed to hold back the last sentence of angering this old lady. The Ancient One had now realized that this kid could deceive others, but when others tried to deceive him, it was impossible. He was even slipperier than an eel. But fortunately, the Ancient One had other methods. If persuasion and deception didn't work, there was only one move left. You little brat, don't run. Stand still for me. Soon, the holy place in New York became chaotic again. The scene was in complete disarray. After a moment, the commotion settled down. Only then did the Ancient One fully inform Chu Shu of the discoveries made on this trip. What? When he learned that Thanos might be heading to other universes. Chu Shu was a bit confused, and it's not heading to a parallel universe like ours, but heading to. As the Ancient One said this, she remembered Artemis' warning. She glared at Chu Shu with annoyance. What did I do now? Chu Shu couldn't make sense of it. I'm asking you, what's the deal with Lucifer Morningstar? And what about the Skynet? What is this Cthulhu? All these random things, where did you summon them from, in which world? The Ancient One repeated the several names mentioned by Artemis. To be honest, if it weren't for Atreides, the Ancient One has been kept in the dark by Chu Shu until now. Thinking that what Chu Shu summoned was nothing more than demons from another dimension or other beings from the Marvel parallel universe. Who would have thought this kid would play such a big game? He even dares to summon things from different worldviews. Atreides knows about this too. Chu Shu was somewhat surprised, and then he realized something. Wait. You're not going to tell me that Thanos has traveled to the world where these people are, right? Chu Shu finished speaking. Seeing the silent expression of the Ancient One, he knew he guessed right. If Purple Potato Spirit went to the worlds of Skynet, the Matrix, and other super ice, it wouldn't be a big deal. But if it went to the worldview of Cthulhu, then Purple Potato Spirit is in trouble. You caused this mess, so you deal with it yourself. I guess there will be more of these things in the future. Atreides said she can only reduce collisions with parallel universes like ours. But she can't do anything about what you've caused. Hearing the words of the Ancient One, Chu Shu wasn't surprised. After all, this is not the same worldview anymore. It would be absurd if Atreides still had a solution. But there's no need to panic. There's always someone to rely on. Wait. I seem to be the tall one now. Meanwhile, a massive fleet of starships is traveling through interstellar jumps. Arriving outside the solar system. So that's Earth? Inside Holy Place number 2. Corvus Glaive gazes at the distant Earth, which is only the size of a grain of rice in terms of file size. A hint of disdain appeared in his eyes. This inconspicuous planet. That Asgardian, leading the invincible Chitauri army, actually stumbled here. The Asgardian mentioned by Corvus Glaive was naturally Loki, who led the Chitauri army to invade Earth during the Battle of New York. In Corvus Glaive's eyes, handing over command of the Chitauri army to Loki back then was a complete waste. You can't even conquer a single planet, what a useless waste. Spread the word. Form battle formations. Objective. Annihilate all life on this planet. Upon hearing Corvus Glaive's orders, the simple-minded black dwarf curiously asked a question. Wait, isn't Thanos' rule always about killing? Why leave no one alive this time? Because I'm in charge now. The bloodthirsty Corvus Glaive glared at Black Dwarf. Black Dwarf immediately dared not speak, but the cunning Ebony Maw had no intention of giving up this opportunity. Thanos has been missing for a long time. There hasn't been any news from him, could it be? Ebony Maw's voice was full of temptation. It wanted to provoke ambition in everyone's hearts, causing internal strife and ultimately seizing victory for itself. However, Corvus Glaive did not want to give it that chance. Shut your mouth. Ebony Maw. The great Thanos is invincible in battle. Moreover, he is currently empowered by the Infinity Stones. No matter where he is now, I'm sure he's wreaking havoc everywhere. In the DC universe, in a dark underground place, a furious roar resounded. How dare you imprison the great Thanos? You have audacity beyond measure. DCEU universe. It has been 11 months since the battle between Superman and General Zod in Metropolis. The city has been rebuilt. Home has returned to peace. People have just emerged from the aftermath of the Kryptonian War. But they are now faced with an even greater disaster. No one knows where that purple monster came from. All people know is that Earth's heroes have paid a painful price to fight against it. Metropolis has turned into a wasteland. Dozens of kilometers of buildings have been destroyed. Skyscrapers have collapsed. As far as the eye can see, there is not a single intact building. Gotham City has been leveled, the battle tearing the land apart and sinking half of the buildings into the sea. Millions of people have died. If Superman hadn't moved the battlefield from Earth to space, the death toll would have multiplied. But even in space, this war is still earth-shattering. Now, people only need to look up at night to see that the moon is forever missing a piece. As if in an Eastern myth, a celestial dog took a bite out of the moon. The phrase, full moon night, has bid farewell to humanity forever. This war not only shook the world but also completely tore apart the disguise of Superman-like beings on DC Earth. Before this, the superheroes that were openly known were nothing more than Superman and Batman. But after that purple monster appeared, countless hidden heroes and even villains emerged on Earth, joining the battle. After the Great War, Superman transformed the crashed Kryptonian spaceship in the Arctic into a prison, and named it Fortress of Solitude. And now, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Aquaman, Martian Manhunter, Cyborg, even villains like Deadshot, King Shark, and Peacemaker, and so on, have all participated in this battle. Now, all the heroes and villains have gathered at the Fortress of Solitude, just to imprison a prisoner beneath the fortress. At the same time, he is the only prisoner beneath the Fortress of Solitude. I thought there weren't so many Supermen on Earth? Batman looked at the group of superpowered individuals around him, feeling a strong sense of unease. These superpowered individuals are too dangerous. Just like Superman, his power is too strong. Powerful enough that once Superman chooses to do evil, there is almost nothing that can stop him. Batman's personality is very similar to Marvel's Iron Man. Both of them have a strong sense of crisis and see everything uncontrollable as a threat. So Iron Man has prepared a series of anti-armors, such as anti-Hulk armor, anti-Thor armor, and so on. And now, Batman also believes that it is necessary for him to develop a counterplan. A plan that targets all Supermen, whether heroes or villains, and exploits their weaknesses. Oh my God, your gaze is terrifying. The Flash noticed Batman's gaze and was scared, getting goosebumps all over his body. He quickly moved a few steps away from him. Wonder Woman also frowned slightly and quietly moved away from Batman. Not to mention the other villains, even though Batman is the only one on the field without superpowers. But everyone instinctively kept their distance from him. Because on Batman, whether hero or villain, everyone feels an inexplicable chill. Alright, everyone quiet down. Fortunately, at this moment, Superman Clark and Martian Manhunter arrived in front of everyone. In an instant, everyone's gaze fell on Martian Manhunter. Because this green-skinned Martian possesses powerful telepathic abilities. He can read others' thoughts and memories, but facing everyone's gaze, Martian Manhunter helplessly shook his head. Despite suffering serious injuries, its willpower is still the strongest I have ever seen. And it seems to have conducted targeted defensive exercises against attacks like telepathy. My ability is ineffective against it, but Martian Manhunter paused for a moment and continued, but it still revealed its identity. It calls itself Thanos, the Mad Titan, the ruler of the universe. From its tone, it doesn't seem like it's lying, and its power is enough to dominate in the universe. But the problem is, I have traveled the universe for many years, but I have never heard of it. Martian Manhunter finished speaking. Everyone's gaze fell on Superman again. After all, he is known as a Kryptonian, a well-known identity since the General Zod battle last year. Everyone, I grew up on Earth. Superman shook his head and dispelled everyone's doubts with a simple sentence. What do we do now? How do we deal with this universal ruler, Thanos? Wonder Woman asked. What else can we do? Definitely kill it. Aquaman slammed his trident heavily on the ground with one hand. His other hand was empty, torn off by Thanos from his shoulder position. Now it can't be reattached, so he can only wrap it up and become a one-armed hero of the ocean. Killing won't solve the problem. We need to find out Thanos' origin and its purpose for coming here. And that purple gem. Batman finished speaking. Everyone followed its gaze and looked at Cyborg. Cyborg, who is half human and half machine, is holding a purple gem and scanning it with his mechanical eye. When I was fighting Thanos on the moon, it took out this gem. From its appearance at the time, it seemed like it wanted to launch some kind of attack on me, but in the end, it had no effect. Superman said in a deep voice. Thanos can be said to be the most powerful enemy he has encountered so far. Even scarier than General Zod back then. In this timeline, the Doomsday, Darkseid, etc. have not appeared yet. So, is this gem some kind of weapon? Wonder Woman glanced at the purple gem in Cyborg's hand. It has to be said that, purely based on appearance, this gem is quite beautiful. Not just that. Suddenly, Cyborg spoke. His voice was trembling, as if he had discovered something unbelievable. This gem contains an extremely terrifying power within. Even if just a little leaked out, It would be enough to completely annihilate the planets beneath our feet. Even you, Clark, even your steel body cannot withstand this kind of power. Cyborg slowly revealed a shocking discovery. What? Hearing this news, everyone's faces showed astonishment. Even Superman couldn't help but feel a wave of fear. Fortunately, Thanos didn't use this gem. Crack. Just when everyone was filled with fear, Cyborg suddenly slammed the purple gem heavily on the table. Damn it. Thunder. Thanks. Special. The villain Deadshot was so scared that he directly fell to the ground. Others also retreated one after another. Even Superman was no exception. Cyborg. Have you gone crazy? Aquaman cursed directly. However, Cyborg had a look of indifference and nodded slightly. As expected. This thing cannot be used in our world. Our world? Upon hearing Cyborg's words, Batman was the first to sense the underlying meaning. Are you saying, this thing comes from another world? And what about Thanos? Batman, as the leader of the Justice League, lived up to his reputation as the brains of the operation. With just a few words from Cyborg, he had already guessed the truth. In fact, when Martian Manhunter mentioned that he had never heard of the universe dominating Thanos, Batman had a vague suspicion. That's right, Cyborg nodded. This gem contains a very powerful force. But this power is limited by the rules of our world. It has failed. In fact, we should be grateful for this, because if it hadn't failed. Cyborg stopped speaking at this point, not continuing. But everyone understood what he meant. So, the invader we are facing now is from another world? The unknown represents fear. Hearing that Thanos comes from an unknown world. Everyone, including Superman, felt a shadow cast over their hearts. However, just at this moment, the Flash, who had been silent and invisible on the field, suddenly raised his hand like a primary school student, indicating that he wanted to speak. Everyone's gaze turned to the Flash. The Flash quickly retracted his hand in fear. Then, cautiously, he asked, do you guys have the habit of reading comics? Comics? Those serialized picture books for children? Everyone's faces showed confusion, not knowing why the Flash brought this up. Well, wait a moment, let me go home and get something. Perhaps he felt that he couldn't explain it clearly. The Flash, feeling helpless, greeted everyone before instantly transforming into a red lightning and disappearing. From the Arctic to America. As everyone watched the spot where the Flash disappeared, after a few seconds, the familiar red lightning appeared. Sorry, I took a little time looking for something. The Flash reappeared. One hand holding a cardboard box. The other hand holding a burrito, taking big bites. These are all the comics I read when I was a child, some of them have stopped being published. The Flash ate the burrito and clumsily placed the box on the ground. Taking out the comic books one by one from inside. The Adventures of Big Mouth Monkey, this was my favorite when I was a child. Oh, and this Super Little Pilot, I liked it too. Every time the Flash took out a book, he would introduce it. Everyone was at a loss. Batman couldn't stand it anymore and directly flipped the box over, emptying all the comic books onto the ground. Barry, what are you trying to say? Superman was also a bit helpless. Looking at the scattered comic books, he really didn't understand what these things had to do with Thanos. Oh. Found it. This one. But the Flash suddenly found a tattered old book from the pile of comic books. Avengers Volume 1. Batman took the comic book, opened it, and found that it was a very ordinary superhero comic. Inside were characters like Iron Man, Thor, and the Hulk. All sorts of things. Characters he had never even heard of. What does this have to do with Thanos? Batman asked. Look at the last page. The Flash pointed to the back of the comic book. After listening, Batman silently flipped to the last page of the comic book, and his expression instantly changed. Because on the last page, there was a purple face drawn. That face was grinning, holding a gloved hand with several gemstones embedded on the glove. Alright, I, Thanos, will personally take action. This issue ends. To find out what happens next, please subscribe to this publication, contact number 377. Take a look at the last page of the comic book. Everyone is shocked. Thanos is a character in the comic? Oh my god. A fictional character has invaded reality. Who is the author of this comic? I want to chop off his arms. Everyone feels like their worldview has collapsed. Aquaman, who has lost an arm, is shouting that he wants to chop off the hand of the Marvel comic book author. Fortunately, Batman remains calm. He immediately realizes the importance of this comic book. Barry, what is the plot behind this comic? Batman asks seriously. The Flash shakes his head. Because of poor sales, this comic book stopped serialization in the 1990s. The only one available on the market is this one. Even the author of the comic passed away a few years ago. I cried for a long time back then. That old man was my favorite comic book writer. Upon hearing this answer, everyone falls silent. Regardless of whether this comic book is a coincidence or not, Thanos' appearance has already exceeded everyone's imagination. Wait. Clark, who is guarding Doomsday now? Just then, Wonder Woman raises a question. Although Thanos is seriously injured and his body is broken, his threat is still not to be underestimated. Previously, Superman took care of guarding him one-on-one. Now Superman has come up. So who is guarding him now? It's Dr. Fate. Superman answers, and the Dr. Fate he mentioned is roughly equivalent to Marvel's Doctor Strange. Both are characters from the magical side. The only difference is that Dr. Fate's abilities come from his helmet. The helmet of Nabu. Through this helmet, Dr. Fate can obtain the power of the god Nabu, making him a formidable force in DC. Don't worry, Diana, even if you don't believe in Dr. Fate, please believe in the cage I've created. Cyborg said while playing with the Power Stone. Finally, like throwing marbles, he casually threw it to the Flash. I combined the super metal from the Kryptonian spaceship with the Promethium metal on my body. I've created an indestructible prison. Don't even mention Thanos. Even if it's Clark who goes in, it won't be easy to figure a way out. Cyborg clearly had confidence in his creation. After hearing this, Wonder Woman also breathed a sigh of relief. As long as he can't get out, this guy is really dangerous. Meanwhile, in the underground of the Fortress of Solitude, a battered Thanos was crawling in the dark cage. His eyes, glowing red, shot out from the darkness, like a wounded and trapped beast. I am Thanos from Titan, I have conquered countless planets. No one is fearless of my name, and now, you dare imprison me, mock me, disrespect me. Thanos' voice came from the cage, filled with killing intent. Save it. Dr. Fate's figure appeared out of thin air. With a wave of his hand, an energy turned into golden chains, binding Thanos to the ground. Bound by the chains, Thanos' eyes were filled with even more killing intent. Now that you're still here, do you think you can stop me? Crack, accompanied by the sound of cracking. The golden energy chains suddenly broke. The previously weak and crawling Thanos suddenly erupted. Unknown when, his injuries had already been completely self-healed, only pretending until now. What? Dr. Fate couldn't even react in time. Thanos tore apart the indestructible cage that Cyborg had mentioned with his bare hands. The beast is unleashed. Now I'll show you. Thanos, you cannot be underestimated. Marvel. 19,999 FL Universe. The fleet led by Corvus Glaive has just crossed the Kuiper belt of the solar system, attracting the attention of a bald figure on the moon. Observer Frog Toad, the first to discover Corvus Glaive's fleet. Although it's a bit early, but all of this will eventually happen. Thanos will eventually gather the infinite gems and eliminate half of the life in the universe. Observer Frog Toad gazes at Corvus Glaive's fleet, muttering to himself. But maybe not. With that variable, Thanos may not be able to gather the infinity gems. Observer Frog Toad stops speaking abruptly. The bald figure looks towards Corvus Glaive's fleet. Something's not right. Something is very wrong. The observer senses that something is off. But for the moment, he can't remember exactly what went wrong. Thanos Holy Place number 2, no problem. Thanos Chitauri Army, also present. Thanos Black Order, no problem. Frogtoad carefully observes for a while. Not right. Where is Thanos? Frogtoad finally discovers the problem. It looks at the fleet for a while, examining all the cast members of this scene. Finally, it realizes that the protagonist is missing. There is a belief circulating in the Marvel circle. That is, on Earth, superheroes like Iron Man and Captain America are the protagonists. But in the universe, the Titan Thanos is undoubtedly the true protagonist. He is the chosen one in the novel. It's not hard to understand. After all, Thanos' life experience is so much like that of the chosen one. When he was young, Thanos was bullied by his own kind because of his ugly appearance. Later, he rose from being a loser and embarked on a path of conquering the universe, sweeping through all obstacles until he gained the reputation of a universal overlord. Various adventures along the way, countless artifacts found. He even gathered the 6 infinite gems, which are unique in the entire universe. In the comics, Thanos even obtained ultimate artifacts like the Cosmic Cube in the heart of the universe. A perfect protagonist template, but now, the plot of Avengers Alliance 3 Inches is about to unfold. The protagonist, Thanos, suddenly started playing hide and seek. What am I even looking at? The Joker? No, the bewildered Observer Frog. Meanwhile, following the Observer Frog, Iron Man and S.H.I.E.L.D. teamed up to create a space warning device. And they also discovered Corvus Glaive's fleet. The news reached the Avengers Alliance headquarters. In an instant, everyone knew Thanos was coming. On the other side, in the city of the Inhumans, Attilan, built on the far side of the moon. The third threat was detected. It's Thanos' team. Inside the palace of Attilan, the queen of the Inhumans, Medusa, summoned her subjects. The king, Black Bolt, sat on the throne, but kept his mouth tightly closed, not saying a word. Because he couldn't control his inhuman ability, which could destroy everything in front of him with even the slightest sound. So Black Bolt entrusted most of Attilan's affairs to his wife, Medusa. Thanos' target should be Earth. The Chitauri attacked Earth before. So I think they're not coming for us this time, we just need to hide. Suggested Maximus, Black Bolt's brother. This guy is a badass. That's it. Hearing what Maximus said, Black Bolt, sitting on the throne, shook his head. Medusa had a telepathic communication. Immediately she said, "We cannot stay out of this. Thanos' actions are known throughout the universe. Once Attilan is discovered by him, he won't leave without slaughtering half of the Inhumans." After Medusa finished speaking, she immediately received the agreement of many people. Yes. If it were someone else, we wouldn't care, but this is Thanos. Wherever he goes, he will kill half of the lives there. This is something known throughout the universe. After hearing the response from most of the people, Black Bolt, sitting on the throne, tapped the armrest. Medusa immediately said, "Very well, that's the decision then. Crystal, you and Tetanus hurry to Earth and notify the humans. The rest of you, prepare for battle immediately. For the sake of our people, this battle must be won." Medusa gave the order. The entire Atlantis started operating. Avengers headquarters. A group of people who had long been prepared heard the news of Thanos' attack and their eyes showed determination. Peter Quill, thank you for your reminder. This has given us a lot of preparation time. Captain America thanked Star-Lord and his team. Because of their arrival, the Avengers had more time to prepare. No need to thank me, Captain. Saving the universe is our duty as Guardians of the Galaxy. Besides, we have already saved the galaxy once before. Do you know what we relied on? Dance-offs. Star-Lord had an expression of, "I'm awesome, you don't have to thank me." Alright, stop bragging. Iron Man Tony walked over from behind and interrupted Star-Lord's self-praise. Saving the galaxy with dance-offs? You're really good at boasting. Hey, guys. Do you remember what I said when we fought against Ultron? Tony clapped his hands, gathering the attention of the Avengers Alliance. What did you say? Was it the part where you swore never to study your teammates' weaknesses? Hawkeye teased. Because everyone knew that Tony Stark would never keep that promise. Cough, not that one. Never mind, I'll just show you. Tony cleared his throat. Then he walked over to a nearby wall and lightly tapped it. The wall immediately opened up, accompanied by the sound of mechanical operation. Hey, guys. Please gladly accept Tony Stark's Christmas gift for you. With Tony's exaggerated tone, several steel battlesuits with different styles were sent up on elevating platforms. There was Captain America's suit with a star on the chest, a sleek and elegant Black Widow armor, and a Hawkeye armor equipped with more special arrows. And so on. Tony remembered the words Choo-Choo said during the Ultron crisis. Can't you prepare a set of armor for them too? Regarding this question, Tony agreed back then. And now, Tony has finally fulfilled his initial promise. He has prepared a set of armor for each member of the Avengers Alliance that suits their abilities. Oh my god, do I have one too? Suddenly, an immature voice appeared in the hall. That's right. It's Peter Parker. To be precise, it's Peter Parker who hasn't become Spider-Man yet. Peter had previously submitted an internship application to Stark Industries, and after passing, he caught Tony's attention with his excellent performance. At the same time, Tony also discovered the simple exoskeleton armor that Peter had made. Perhaps he felt that this kid had his own style back then. So Tony brought Peter Parker by his side and basically treated him as a successor to train. And now, hearing that everyone has a set of armor, Peter Parker is extremely excited, his eyes are shining. Not for you, kid. When you fully understand the notes I gave you, then. Eat? Who said anything about eating? Tony hadn't finished speaking yet. Choo-Choo's voice suddenly came from outside. Did you start eating without me? You guys are really rude. I even brought the god of dough with me, you guys. Choo-Choo grumbled and pushed open the door. Then he saw the members of the Avengers Alliance, fully armed and ready for battle. The scene suddenly became quiet. Manto? The god of dough used its round little hands and conjured up a fragrant and steaming white steamed bun, but no one came forward to take it. Chu Shu also noticed that the atmosphere was not quite what he had expected. At least it doesn't seem like a cafeteria opening. Did I come at the wrong time? Thanos' purpose in coming to Earth is the infinite gems. But the gems are being guarded by Chu Shu, so we don't need to worry about that. What we really need to do is resist the invasion of Thanos' fleet. I propose launching a proactive attack. On Thanos' main ship, Holy Place Number 2, there is a weapon called the Antimatter Annihilation Cannon. If that thing fires, Earth will be destroyed directly. So I propose to form a team, infiltrate Holy Place Number 2, and disable or directly destroy this planet cannon. In addition, Gamora is very familiar with the structure of Holy Place Number 2, she can lead you to the control room. Avengers Headquarters. There is still some time before Corvus Glaive's fleet arrives on Earth. Tony, Captain America, Star-Lord, and others are urgently formulating a battle plan. In fact, the general battle plan has already been decided. Now they are discussing only more specific battle strategies and personnel assignments. If it's just infiltration, I think there's no problem. We have a magician, he can directly open a portal and teleport us to Thanos' ship. Accompanied by Tony's voice, Mordo stepped forward. Since the Ancient One announced that Stephen Strange would take over as the Sorcerer Supreme, Mordo has been in a state of depression, and he hasn't even practiced combat for a long time. Just when Chu Shu thought this guy was going to turn into a villain like in the comics, Tony, or more accurately, Phil Coulson, extended an olive branch to Mordo. And Mordo probably thought that he couldn't become the Sorcerer Supreme anyway. So he decided to make the Avengers his new life goal. As long as you can provide accurate coordinates, I can open a portal. Now Mordo can be said to be full of confidence. Since becoming an Avenger, Mordo has also experienced the feeling of being a boss. After all, he is like a high-level account entering a medium-level dungeon. He has truly enjoyed the limelight. Magician, I know you can open the portal. But the problem is, have you ever thought about what would happen if this infiltration team encounters Thanos? Maybe we need a bait to lure Thanos out. For example, bring out an Infinity Stone. Tony took out the orange mind gem. The other 3 infinite gems are all in Chu Shu's hands, so they are safe. So in Tony's opinion, bringing out a mind gem as bait shouldn't be a big problem. Pissed. Just as everyone was discussing seriously and earnestly about how to deal with Thanos, suddenly, a laughter that couldn't be suppressed came from the side. Sorry, I remembered something happy. You guys continue talking. Chu Shu ate while being a bystander, eating various pastries handed over by the dough god, and listening to Tony and others strategizing against the air. That's right. Chu Shu didn't tell everyone about Thanos' disappearance. In fact, Chu Shu himself was a bit puzzled about the arrival of Thanos' fleet. The boss went missing, yet the employees were still diligently working? It has to be said that Thanos' subordinates and his army are really dedicated. Hello? Are you the greatest hero on Earth, Hugh? Because of Tony's previous boasting, Rocket Raccoon, who had long admired Chu Shu, took the opportunity to come over. That's right. Chu Shu gladly accepted the title of greatest hero. So, are you really capable of defeating Thanos? Thanos? Chu Shu sneered. I'll put it this way. Thanos won't dare to show up today. Let me beat his purple potato head. Chu Shu knew that Thanos wouldn't show up today, so he made a direct deal with Rocket Raccoon. Anyway, they were all empty promises, no need to fulfill them. But the Avengers Alliance had no idea about the inside story. Hearing Chu Shu's words, they felt relieved and gained confidence. The boss has spoken. This is a sure thing. I am Groot. Hey buddy, what is this little thing saying? Chu Shu noticed the small tree person Groot standing on Rocket's shoulder. But Chu Shu couldn't understand the language of the Flora Colossus. So, he looked at Rocket. Oh, he says, who's more powerful, you or Kevin Bacon? I am Groot. Oh, he added, can you give him an autograph later? Rocket Raccoon acted as a translator for Groot. This little thing has good taste. This was Chu Shu's first impression of Groot. Although he didn't know who Kevin Bacon was, it didn't affect Chu Shu's liking for this little sapling. Moreover, Chu Shu remembered something. In the movie, Groot seemed to enjoy playing games. Not bad. A good seedling. No problem with the autograph. Come to my place later. Uncle will show you something cool. Chu Shu planned to cultivate little Groot in advance. Turn him into the strongest esports player in the Marvel world, and then carry himself to a higher rank. While Chu Shu was chatting with Rocket and Groot, Tony and the others also assigned the combat personnel. Star-Lord, Gamora, Black Panther, Iron Fist, Mordo, formed a team to infiltrate Holy Place Number 2 and disable the planet cannon. Iron Man, Hercules, Quicksilver, Ares, Drax, Rocket, Groot. The top combat forces went to outer space to form the first line of defense. Captain America led the remaining Hawkeye, Black Widow, Daredevil, Luke Cage, and other heroes to stay on Earth, coordinating with the military to form the final line of defense. Personnel allocation completed. Everyone started to act according to the plan. Tony, with a glimmer of hope, found Chu-Shu. "Hey, buddy, aren't you planning to go to space with us? With you around, I don't think their fleet can even break through our first line of defense." Tony can now be considered a typical Chu-Shu fanboy. And it's not entirely unfounded. Ever since witnessing Chu-Shu's demonic army under his command, as well as that pale ship, the Nigel F.A. Tony has gained a clear understanding of Chu-Shu's power. Even if we set aside personal strength, in terms of the forces under his command, Chu-Shu is definitely not weaker than the so-called cosmic overlord, Thanos. I said, "Leave Thanos to me, the rest is yours." Chu-Shu remembers that he came here for a free meal, and since he didn't get the meal, why should he go out and fight with you guys? Forget it. Alright then. Hearing that Chu-Shu only wants to deal with Thanos, Tony, although a bit disappointed, is also satisfied. After all, Chu-Shu's laziness is well known, so it's already good enough that he's willing to deal with Thanos. By the way, it seems like you have some guests. Ah? Just as the Avengers were finalizing their plan and preparing to leave, suddenly, a bunch of stubborn dogs and a teleporting girl appeared. "Humans. I am Crystal of the Inhumans. I am here on behalf of the Inhumans on the moon to warn you. Thanos is coming. Thanos is coming." Crystal immediately issued a warning as soon as she appeared. But after shouting twice, she realized that something was off in the atmosphere. First of all, thank you for your warning. Secondly, who do you think we are all armed to face? Chu-Shu was not joking. He really didn't intend to get involved in this war. After all, with so many superheroes, if they still couldn't defeat a Thanos army without Thanos, then we might as well call it a day. No free meal. No gaming buddy. Chu-Shu reluctantly pulled the faceless god and returned to the holy place in New York. However, sometimes it's just like this. The more you don't want trouble, the more trouble comes knocking on your door. But this time, trouble found the wrong person. Nepal. A country at the foot of the Himalayas. Similarly, this is also the true location of Kamar Taj, the hidden world. Boom. A teleportation wave descended. Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf appeared directly in a market in Nepal. Two extraterrestrial beings appeared out of thin air, instantly startling the people in the market. People scattered and fled. Screams filled the air. The scene suddenly became chaotic, but Ebony Maw ignored these fleeing humans. Because in its eyes, these weak lives were like ants, not worth paying attention to. According to the clues left by Thanos before his disappearance, the time gem should be here. The magicians on Earth call it the Eye of Agamotto, a symbol of the Sorcerer Supreme. Ebony Maw folded its hands behind its back, scanning the surroundings with an arrogant posture. The gem was previously under the control of the Ancient One. But now, the title of Sorcerer Supreme has fallen on a human named Strange. So the Eye of Agamotto must be on him. Ebony Maw's judgment was reasonable and well-founded. And soon, its gaze fell on a gift shop in the distance. That gift shop looked ordinary, with no apparent difference from the surrounding buildings. But Ebony Maw knew that it was the real entrance to Kamar Taj, the gathering place of magicians on Earth. Black Dwarf. The cunning Ebony Maw definitely wouldn't rush ahead. It casually pointed. Black Dwarf was sent out to take the lead. Good. Standing over 3 meters tall, with a strong physique, Black Dwarf could be called the space version of Hulk. He was not lacking in intelligence compared to Hulk. After hearing this, there were no objections. Carrying his huge battle axe, he headed straight for the gift shop. Without even turning, he charged forward like a walking tank, demolishing the buildings along the way. What the hell? Inside the gift shop, a familiar old friend was leisurely leaning on a recliner. Upon hearing the loud noise outside, he peeked his head out for a glance. Then he let out a curse. Enemy attack. Close the teleportation entrance. Daniel, the great magician, shouted. He quickly ordered a helper in the shop, who was actually an apprentice magician from Kamar Taj. But it was too late. In Black Dwarf's hand, the hundreds of tons heavy giant battle axe was thrown out. It was connected to a chain at the end. With an unstoppable force, it crashed into the gift shop. Various 3 yuan and 5 yuan small gifts were instantly destroyed, and the shelves were scattered on the ground. Ah! 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 The young apprentice closed his eyes in despair. But Daniel, the great magician, had already erected a magical barrier. It barely withstood Black Dwarf's attack. What are you standing there for? Quickly close the entrance. Daniel, the great magician, felt extremely frustrated. He had finally stepped down from his position as the holy place Asgardian in New York. He thought he could happily enjoy his retirement. Return to Kamar Taj. Become the old man guarding the entrance to the mundane world. But retirement life hadn't been fully experienced yet, and he encountered this mess. Oh. Okay. The young apprentice snapped back to reality. He quickly rushed towards the back door of the gift shop and reached out his hand towards a magic inscription on the wall. But before his hand could touch the inscription, crack, crack, the surrounding shelves suddenly shape-shifted. The metal shelves turned into sharp blades, piercing the defenseless apprentice. Little George, Daniel, the great magician, focused all his attention on Black Dwarf. By the time he reacted, the apprentice had already been stabbed through. Magician of Kamar Taj, I've heard of your great name. Nice to meet you today. It's quite disappointing, I must say. With his hands behind his back, Ebony Maw floated in from a damaged wall. Black Dwarf also put away his battle axe and followed Ebony Maw like a bodyguard. Daniel, the great magician, remained silent, his eyes burning with anger. Just as the atmosphere became tense and the battle was about to begin, the back door of the gift shop suddenly opened. Wong led a group of magicians out. Finally, the current Sorcerer Supreme, Dr. Strange, also walked out. It is worth noting that Dr. Strange wore a necklace around his neck, with a pendant emitting a faint green light. Yes, it is the Eye of Agamotto, as expected. The time gem is on him. At Ebony Maw's command, Black Dwarf charged forward with a dazed expression. Dr. Strange paused for a moment, lowered his head and glanced at the Eye of Agamotto around his neck. Are these two aliens after this? But what I have is a fake. But there's no time to think about it. Facing the overwhelming Black Dwarf, including Dr. Strange and the other magicians from Kamar Taj. They all displayed the splendor of Kamar Taj. Putting on a layer of magical shield, taking out magical weapons. Unleashing the power of the Grand Master, jumping and slashing. Counterattacking storm. Relentless strikes. Inside the holy place in New York, the wall that was once used to display artifacts has been cleared. It has been replaced with an 8K holographic projection device that Chu Shu obtained from Tony Stark. At this moment, the holographic image is broadcasting the battle situation outside of Earth in real time. This is the footage transmitted from the Sword Bureau base created by Tony and S.H.I.E.L.D. in space. The current headquarters of the T-Engine Bureau is just a rudimentary framework. Essentially, it is a larger space station. It doesn't have any practical combat function, but there is no problem shooting some space scenes and broadcasting them live. The setup is quite impressive. Don't blow up the Earth with such a huge spaceship, okay? Chu Shu lay on the sofa, with Wanda in his left arm and Sky in his right arm. The black cat squatted beside them, holding popcorn and fruit, occasionally feeding Chu Shu. Shouldn't we go and help? Gwen stood behind the sofa. As she spoke, she habitually put her hand on Chu Shu's shoulder and started massaging. There's no way to avoid Chu Shu's clutches. What's the rush? Thanos isn't here. Chu Shu enjoyed it blissfully. Unexpectedly, as soon as he finished speaking, a chill suddenly came from behind. Gwen, turn up the air conditioning. Seeing Gwen not saying anything for a while, Chu Shu turned his head and saw the Ancient One standing behind him with a gloomy face. In order not to be driven to death, the Ancient One had been staying in the mirror dimension, out of sight, for some time. But as soon as she came out, she saw the holy place hall in a mess. TV, sofa, coffee table, footstool, game console, air conditioning. A pile of miscellaneous things. They occupied the space that should have belonged to artifacts and relics. Now, many precious artifacts were piled up in the corner like garbage. Among them was Dr. Strange's levitating cloak. The poor cloak was crushed at the bottom, with only a red corner struggling outside. The Ancient One took a deep breath and silently walked to the pile of miscellaneous artifacts. She dug out a flashing circular artifact from it. This thing was originally hanging on the wall, but because it blocked the air conditioning vent, it was thrown down. Chu Shu glanced at it. This thing flashes quite regularly. Does it mean something? The Ancient One smiled. This is Kamar Taj's distress signal, my dear.